Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hey Shady Lady, and today I have a very exciting video planned for you. I recently reached out to EljayEm from StreamScheme here on YouTube, who I'm sure most, if not all of y'all are probably familiar with. He is a content creator on YouTube and Twitch who focuses primarily on streamer tips. So tips for small streamers or tips getting started streaming or leveling up your streaming experience as a content creator. I'm very grateful that I got to sit down and have a chat with him for a couple hours, pick his brain about his journey on content creation, as well as just some ins and outs of advice that he would have to offer. Before we jump into the conversation, this video is sponsored today by Placeit. Placeit.net is a wonderful resource for content creators on Twitch and YouTube. They have a very large directory of ready-to-use templates that make design for your brand easy. They have a large library available. They have animated logos, plain logos, gaming freebies, OBS stream overlays, merch designs, starting soon screens, Twitch overlays, Twitch panels for your about section, offline banners. They also have intro, outro videos, YouTube banners, end cards, YouTube thumbnail creators. So this would be a great resource if you are a content creator and you don't necessarily have the tools or knowledge available to create your own graphics from scratch. And they do have a lot of free options available, but there are premium services as well. And if you happen to find anything in their premium services that you really like, if you use my discount link in the description box below, you will get 15% off any purchase. Happy hunting. I hope y'all find something you like there. Thank you again so much to Placeit for sponsoring today's video. And let's go ahead and jump into this exciting conversation with ElJay. I'm so stoked for y'all to see this. And a huge thank you to ElJay for meeting up with me and having this conversation. We did record this live on my Twitch channel. Links for him will be in the description below as well. I have it broken up into timestamps in the description box as well if you'd like to jump around. And without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, and I think we are good and live. Hello everybody, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining, and a big thank you to ElJay for joining us today. Today I'm doing a new episode of my Just Streamer Things podcast where I chat with different content creators about the lifestyle of being a content creator, being a streamer. I have a very, very fun, exciting guest with me today, EljayEm. Y'all probably recognize him from YouTube. If you're familiar with my content, I'm sure you've seen his content. Lots of streamer tips, streamer tutorials over at StreamScheme. How are you doing today, ElJay?
I am good. Up bright and early. I've got my second coffee. My wife just delivered it to me, which I'm very glad about. And so no, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. You know, that's what it feels like. I'm barely trucking through. So I know you're over in Australia, so it's like end of summer, start of autumn for you, right?
Oh, Australia's only got 2 seasons. We have for about 9 months we've got summer, and then for about 3 months we've got less hot summer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Hello, chat, by the way. Hello, fellow Aussies in chat as well.
Yeah, welcome in everybody from chat. Thank you so much for joining. If y'all have any questions that you'd like to see us chat about, pop them in chat. I might pull them up throughout the conversation. We're just gonna kind of go with the flow. But yeah, so I am really excited to have you on today. I love chatting. I know you do too. I love chatting about streamer lifestyle content creators, the algorithm, the psychology, the mindset behind it, how you got started, how to help others get started, all that good stuff. And you do so much of that with StreamScheme. StreamScheme is really impressive. I think the first question I wanted to ask you is it fully ElJay, or you have a team helping you produce everything?
So StreamScheme existed before I did. So StreamScheme is someone I know, essentially. So I used to work in digital marketing. So I was a video producer, and then I moved on to digital marketing because I felt the videos weren't having enough reach for the clients that I was working with. And I wanted to learn how to market things. So I went into digital marketing. And while I was there, I met a few people, did some stuff, taught myself how to do video SEO, so how to release content that appeals to the algorithm. And then when around February at the start of the pandemic, I stepped away and I decided I was going to do my own stuff. I didn't want to do work for other people anymore, which is hilarious to say because I just became a sole trader where I did work for other people. But I was like, it's mine. I'm the business owner.
Yeah.
But I was streaming. I started streaming just to a mate on Discord, and he pushed me and he was like, you should do this. You should do this properly. You're a funny guy. You should do it properly. So I jumped in, did it properly, and then I grew really quickly. People just loved it. So StreamScheme, who my mate, who's also the one who pushed me, was doing StreamScheme at the time, and he goes, hey, we want to work with you specifically. You've got all the skills, you've got everything, you've got 50, 60 average viewers now in a couple months. Can we get you to do videos? And I was like, sure, it'll help me learn, help me improve, and it'll help others, so I'll do it. So essentially, the team is myself for video side, for marketing side, for graphics, branding, community handling, and then the other two are the web team, the web and writing team. And they take some of my video scripts and upload them as articles, and I take some of their articles and upload them as videos. But it's this nice little coexistence
It's
of back and
perfect.
forth.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
search some like streamer tips or like streamer phrases, how to do XYZ on streaming, and Stream Scheme comes up on Google, you come up in YouTube. It's like dominating the algorithm. Yeah,
Yeah.
y'all got that on lock for sure.
Well, the joys of having three digital marketers enter the streaming space.
Yeah, y'all definitely know what you're doing. And I heard you mention a bit about like being your own boss. I think that's a huge part of what makes streaming so appealing. And especially now, like through the pandemic, a lot of old school traditional jobs are going out the window. So we are entering the age where self-made creators or self-made business owners are basically what you have to do to survive nowadays, unless you want to go out in the ookie spooky world, which I know a lot of us don't. But have you always been interested in being your own boss, or what were you before you started doing content creation? How did you get to this point?
So it's a bit of a weird one for me. I had a very supportive mum. My mum was a powerhouse. I always considered her to like to be my biggest inspiration when I was young. And anytime I'd say I want to do X, she would always just jump in and be like, "Let's do it then. I'm going to support you 100%," which was
Aw.
amazing because she's also a single mother looking after three of us, and she was an absolute legend. And amazing work ethic always inspired me. And I said I wanted to do, I wanted to be a movie director. I wanted to be a psychologist, all these sorts of things. She always helped me, gave me experiences, stuff like that. And it got me really good at talking to people. So I wanted to go and be a video producer that sat down and just made content of people's stories. That was my entire
Oh,
job that I
cool.
wanted to do. Um, and in doing that, I ended up wanting to also be a YouTuber because every teenager does,
Yeah.
right? Um, but I kind of had that thought in my head, and I feel like everyone has the same thought of, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to do these things, but that's never going to happen. I'm not special enough. That's not going to happen. I'm not
Mm,
interesting enough. None of this is ever going to be a thing. And to a degree, it's kind of true. I think it's very difficult. Um, but I always wanted to do this content, and then I kind of gave up on it, and I decided I'd do a real job where I do video. And so I started doing films and video, and I had a lot of success there. I won't go too much into it, but I had a lot of success there. And yeah, I went to uni, studied it, and I went through everything, and I loved it all. And I didn't really care if I was my own boss or not, as long as I got to tell stories. But the thing about video is you tend to fall into doing everything by yourself, right?
mm,
Like you can have a crew, but if you have a crew, suddenly everything gets a lot more complicated. It's just
yeah.
easier sometimes just to grab your camera, go out, and you just do it. And I kind of just fell into it. I ran my own business from like the first year of university. I did all that sort of stuff. And the only time I really worked for others in a company was that 1.5 years as a digital marketer. And I'll tell you what, my boss there, he made me realize I never wanted to ever work for anyone ever again.
I know I've had a handful of bosses where I'm just like, oh my God, I want to be my own boss. I don't want to answer to anybody. But the problem that I run into, and maybe this is something you can relate to or you have advice around. I respect my bosses in my previous jobs to like, I'm not going to call out of work unless I'm like dying. Do you know what I mean? But I will call
Yeah.
out on myself easy. So
Oh, 100%.
it's harder for me to respect myself as a boss, which is really frustrating as a content creator, and I think leads to a lot of like maybe try and fails, or
Yeah.
burnouts and stuff like that. Do you have experience with this or any advice around it?
100%. Yeah. I think every single content creator has this issue. And the problem is that I think burnout is the thing I always say to people is burnout is 100% caused by a lack of enjoyment. And a lot of people, will be like, what? I enjoy it. I like making content and stuff like that. And it's like, actually, at a certain point, you probably will go, oh, I don't want to have to write this, or I don't want to have to do this. Or, you'll lose your kind of focus, right? Because like everyone gets into content creation for a reason. It depends who the person is. Like you maybe got into it because, you just liked to meet new people, or you maybe got into it because you liked being entertaining. But the longer you do it, the more it becomes a job, and the
Mm,
more you find out what works, and you have to double down on what works. And at a certain point, you kind of look back, and if you're feeling burnt out, you look back at your portfolio of work and you go, oh, this isn't why I got into it. And I think that's burnout, right? Like, I
yeah.
personally believe that burnout entirely comes down to the fact that you're like, I'm not doing what I enjoy anymore. And so my biggest advice for it is that if you're going to create content, you have to be doing it because you love doing it first and foremost. And then the job stuff is crucial, absolutely. I'm not pretending it's not. But if you don't love what you're doing, you'll never respect yourself enough as a boss to get things done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So how, let's see. I want to ask if you've experienced burnout, how long you've been streaming. I think you mentioned a couple of years now, like around the start of the pandemic.
My 2-year anniversary as a streamer will be in 6 days.
Wow. Happy
And
anniversary.
yeah. I just passed my 1-year anniversary as a partner, so I reached partner in under a year, and then I went on to I've spent the last year as a partner. And it's been exciting. But yeah, I absolutely have experienced burnout. In fact, burnout is one of the reasons why I've had such a. If you look at my Twitch tracker, you'll see like 250 average viewers, 250 average viewers, 250 average viewers, and then it just starts slowly dipping. And it just starts slowly going down to the point where it's like now 130 or something like that over the last 6-7 months. And burnout is actually what caused that. So I have a diagnosed acute anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
So ever since I've been really young, I've had panic attacks pretty much. Like you go out to dinner, not as bad anymore, but I used to go out to dinner with my family. And my mum, who is much better at handling it now, but at the time didn't understand it, would be so confused as to why I was having a panic attack about sitting at a table with other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just random things. And I started getting anxious every time I'd go to stream or every time I'd go to record. And it really just came down to the fact that it had turned into a job. It was, I have to do this every single time. This is what I'm doing. This is what gets me views. And I was sat there like, oh, I kind of don't want to do this video that'll get me, 50,000 views because it's boring to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's when I took a step back and I started uploading once or twice a month instead. Is that a cat?
Sorry, she's going crazy. She does this every time I start
fine.
talking after being quiet. She's like, "Where's my attention?"
She's adorable.
Yeah, she's kind of crazy.
But yeah, essentially, I found myself being really, really, really burnt out and anxious every single time I went live and every single time I tried to create content. And I also took a bit of Devin Nash's advice. So one of Devin Nash's pieces of advice was, if you're at that 100 viewer mark, stream more. You're past the point now. You can stream more. You should do more streaming, and that's really good for you. And I kind of took that advice and I went and tried that, and it had the complete opposite effect. Which I'm not saying his advice is bad. It's just it doesn't work for everyone.
It doesn't work for everyone, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, what do I do? And I took a big step back and I started rethinking my content. As I said, I started releasing less videos, which obviously hurt my average viewership, not because I'm getting less views. By releasing less videos and focusing more on quality and things I enjoyed, I actually went from getting like 15 to 16,000 views a day on my YouTube channel to like 23,000, just easy, just flat 23,000 every day.
A little bit.
From pulling back and just releasing content that I really liked and put a lot of care and thought into. And those were really interesting. But at the same time, because I was uploading once a month, there were these big spreads of time where my audience from StreamScheme just kind of forgot about me. And like I just slipped out of their memory. And because I slipped out of their memory, my stream just slowly dipped and dipped and dipped and dipped and dipped as well. I'm just seeing the cat. No, don't apologize at all. It's amazing. But yeah, and so for me, it's one of those things where I did experience burnout and I cut back quite heavily. But to fix it, I've diversified a lot. So over the past 3 weeks, I've really pushed hard into TikTok, and I've got like 3 million views on TikTok now, or 3.2 or something like that. I've started my own YouTube channel, like a side one that's just personality content. I don't care about the views over there. I just want to release content that I think is funny and I enjoy. And StreamScheme, I'm starting to make content about things that I find interesting still, and I'm able to scale that now. And I think that little step back, that little break away, really helped me refocus about what I enjoy, especially on stream. Actually, stream has been amazing lately. I've been putting a lot of time into my new emotes and my new community feel, and I've been a bit more like open and honest with people about like what we're gonna do here, what we're not gonna do here, and I've really been catering my entire stream to a specific demographic that I want. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I'm not letting people overstep or ruin the vibe or do things I don't like just because I've been dipping in viewership. I'd rather be at 80 viewers than 130 viewers if it meant that my entire chat was just good eggs, good
Right,
vibes kind of thing.
So this is interesting. This kind of steps into what I've been struggling quite a bit with lately is boundaries with community members. I think also in a certain way of like appealing to yourself instead of appealing to the large viewership. Like I know if I do this, it's going to get me X amount of viewers, but I don't actually want to do that. but then when you, it's such a an awkward dance, because when you don't do the thing that gets you a lot of views, you look at your viewership and you feel bad about, you feel like, oh, no one actually likes me, no one wants me, they
Mm,
just want this clickbait thing, or this, how to grow on Twitch overnight kind of like,
yep.
YouTube
Yep.
video. I noticed one of my friends, Marky Sparky, who might be in chat, but actually pointed me to one of your videos that you released recently, which was about why you almost quit your 100,000 viewership channel, which I found when I watched that video. I've seen several of your videos over just like the last couple of years I've been in this, this area. And this one, like, I think spoke the most to me because it was so
Mm,
incredibly relatable, which is it focused all around getting obsessed, if I can use that word, with
yeah.
analytics, and constantly checking them and allowing them to completely derail what it was that you wanted to do in the first place. And I can relate to this
Hmm.
on a lot of levels. When I first started YouTube, I was doing like magical witchy content, tarot, and all of this kind of stuff, and I had one video that popped off that was how to talk to yourself when no one was there, for streamers, and it
I've
popped
I've
off,
seen it. Yeah.
blew up, and then I was like, oh, this is what works, this is what I have to do now. And then I completely ducktailed into nothing but streamer tips, streamer tutorials, forgot about who I was, is what it felt like. And it's taken me a while to circle back around and be like, hold up, I gotta get, and I think this is kind of what you're doing here with your two channels. You've got the stream
Yeah.
scheme, and you've got like ElJay, the personality, the personality, and all of the side interests.
Mm.
I'm sure there's a question in there, but maybe focused around analytics. Is that still something that you're kind of driven a little crazy by lately? Are you still trying to overcome that?
Yes and no. I feel like as a content creator, you're always going to need to have a certain level of awareness around your analytics. But I also think that having a bigger outlook is what something I say in the video is set yourself a bigger goal. I push smart goals quite a lot to new creators, to my detriment because nobody ever does them. But you can push as much as you want. Hopefully, it's like 3 or 4 people will do it. And that's the sense that I don't think you should sit there and say things like, oh, I want to get 100 new subs. I want to get 5,000 new viewers, or I want to get 30 new followers over the next week of Twitch streams, because you don't really control any of that.
Mm.
You just control none of that, right? Because they're not, sure, they're specific numbers, sure, they're measurable numbers, but they're not achievable by you. You need other people to achieve them. They're not relevant technically to what you want to do, and they can be time bound, but at the same time, you can't push the time bound. So I always say to people, you should always focus on releasing content that you enjoy and setting smart goals around the amount of content or the skills you learn, right? And so, for example, take my last video. My last video was I wanted to learn about TikTok. I wanted to understand it better. I felt like I was out of touch, like I was this boomer, which I know I am, and that's fine. But I wanted to learn about TikTok. So I intensely jumped into TikTok, and I spent about 3 weeks just posting, right? Just scrolling through, watching and posting, and I learned a little bit. And I didn't go watch other people's videos because I feel like so many content creators who make content about TikTok. I just feel like if they were, it's hard, right? Because there's this big issue with content out there for how to grow as a content creator, where a lot of them haven't done it themselves yet. And I didn't want to fall into the trap of watching someone whose entire viewer base has come from purely doing advice. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's like I'm terrified to make videos about things that I don't know about yet. It's like, as I said, I got 50, 60 viewers before I did anything for StreamScheme. And even then, I only did stuff that was like, really easy technical things, 5 viewers, how to get these small things set up, all that stuff, because I was confident I knew how to do that. I was an authority on those things. And it's still why I don't do videos about how to get thousands of viewers, because at the end of the day, I don't know how to get
You don't have
thousands of
that
viewers.
experience yet. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And I wanted to do TikTok because I wanted to understand it, because I got asked so much about it. And so I spent weeks just doing it, just experimenting, learning what worked for me, learning what worked for other people on the feed, not watching anyone else's. And I started to get traction. I started to figure out what worked. And within the space of like 2 weeks, it went from getting 100 views per TikTok to I now have 3.2 million views on it. Am I going to continually success? No, God no. It's TikTok. It hates everyone. But then I made a video about it, knowing it wouldn't work, because I talked to my audience already, and I know for a fact that small streamers, to a lot of them, they kind of hate TikTok. They
Yeah.
just do. They just don't like it because they haven't seen success on it. They've tried, and they've been told how easy this platform is to grow, but then they've tried and they haven't seen success and they've failed. Like they've given up. And so they just hate it. Or the other one is they all talk about spyware, which is like, have you heard of Facebook? I mean,
I
you're
mean,
complaining.
we're just on the internet in general at this point. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting because I've been one of those people who have covered TikTok without having the experience of growing on it. Because I was approached by a sponsor and had to, but I don't like TikTok. I don't like watching TikTok. It overstimulates and stresses me out. And I'll realize that 3 hours of my life have just disappeared and I have nothing of substance to show for it. No, not even like, oh, I watched a great movie and now I can talk about this movie. It's just tons of information that's been thrown at my face, and everything about TikTok. I mean, we thought the clickbait game was bad on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
the TikTok click. That being said, I do still want to use it. It is a great tool for growth. And it's a fun, I think the short form content that's coming out, because it's taking over YouTube as well and Instagram as well, the reels and stuff. Short form content is a very skits, like little short skits. You know, this even started back with like Vine. It's a very interesting and fun way to try to create content. I will say that a lot of people feel like they have to use TikTok, like not necessarily because they want to, but it's being shoved down everyone's throat right now. And I think a big problem with streamers is they think they can throw a Twitch clip up and they're going to get TikTok famous overnight. I feel like it's much better to make organic TikTok content. Like, yeah, you can definitely repurpose some of your content from streams, but more of that like talking head, like just cell phone out, like that's what I found has worked the best, at least for the 12 videos I have on TikTok, is the one where I was just like not overthinking it. I wasn't recording it. I wasn't doing a TikTok dance. I wasn't. And I think you mentioned this, and it was either one of your streams or one of your videos that I watched in the last couple of days, but the stuff that you just kind of throw at the wall works really well, and the stuff that you try really hard at doesn't always perform that well, and sometimes you just luck out.
So one of the things for me I find is that I try as much as I can, as many different things as I can, and then I'll usually just see what works and I double down. That's my entire approach to everything, is just try as much as you can, and if it works, brilliant, double down on it. If it doesn't, you've learned what doesn't work and you've still walked away with something. I think it's really interesting. You said something really interesting there. You said that it feels like everyone has to start a TikTok. It's been pushed down their throat. You know what? I kind of feel the same way about YouTube.
Yeah.
I know this sounds wild, but when I first started this, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I didn't have any external funnels. And I got to, 20 average viewers within 30 days, right? Which is not actually that impressive when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. But it's really impressive to a lot of creators who are starting out and they take 6 months to get affiliate, right? Or they take years. There are people who comment on, I've got this video called 32 tips for beginners, or 32 tips for streaming to 0 viewers, which is essentially just broken into, here's 10 tips for starting up your channel, here's 10 tips for technical stuff, and then here's 10 tips to get yourself set up and actually start marketing yourself. And it's one of my best performing videos. It got to like 800,000 views in 3 months, right? And it's because it's so focused on the largest demographic of you are the base beginner, right? And I said at the start of it, comment down below how many of these 32 tips you're doing. Give yourself a tick every single time you're doing one of these tips already, and comment down below. And I had people writing back to me being like, I'm 0 out of 32 and I've been streaming for 5 years. I hope, thanks for this. I'm going to be better at this now. I'm going to get this done now. And some of those tips there are set a category. That's all it is. Just set a category and think about your category. Other ones are use tags. Other ones are just make a title that is, something interesting for someone to click, like really basic, because I'm aiming at the beginners. And this isn't me making fun of those people, right? But I feel like most content out there just tells people the same piece of advice. If you want to grow, start a YouTube channel. As a person who spent now, I guess, 3 years doing video SEO and building YouTube channels for other corporate clients and for myself on StreamScheme, that's hard. That is that advice is so dumbed down and simplified, but it is so hard.
It's
I know
also
amazing.
Kind of backwards.
Well, you don't love it, right? If you don't love to make YouTube videos and you're just making YouTube videos to grow a Twitch stream, your YouTube videos are probably gonna suck. Like it's just the truth of it, right? It's the same thing as like if you're trying to make content purely because you think that content is what's gonna help you grow, it's probably gonna suck, right? You've got to actually love this shit. Otherwise, am I allowed to swear?
You're totally fine, yeah.
Okay, cool. Otherwise, people just like they're not gonna vibe with it.
I don't know if you missed, we did a Pokemon stream 2 days ago, and it's the raunchiest shit I've ever done on my channel, so
Oh
you're
yeah.
totally fine.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I find that like I know this really amazing artist, right? And they wanted to grow their art stream, and so they thought they had to start making YouTube videos. So they started making YouTube videos about something. They were making YouTube videos. It was kind of like about art, but it was like they were going out of their way to record like different little things about their art, different little things. And I just said, why aren't you just like posting the finished art or posting like a fully sped up speed art of your
Yeah.
stream to Reddit or Instagram or any of these places because these people will love it. And then just add a comment saying, I actually made this live on stream. Here it is. I'm going live now. And they were like, oh, because everyone tells me I have to do a YouTube channel to make the to convert. And I said, well, yeah, sure, maybe, but just try and make some speed art and just record your whole, thing and just put it out on Reddit and stuff. And they did. And they went from having 0 viewers and 0 views on YouTube as well. And they went to having like 10 average viewers just because Reddit just because Reddit or Twitter or all these fans of Animal Crossing or wherever it is. Um, and I really think that it's like people just give this blanket advice of start a YouTube channel. And that's because that's what they've been told. They're either regurgitating it or that's what worked for them. And that's fine. But there are people out there who have amazing talents and amazing skills that aren't in the video section who could be growing really quickly,
Yeah.
faster than me, faster than you, because they're incredibly talented. But they're sat there instead learning how to edit in DaVinci Resolve because they've been
Yes.
told.
And what's kind of interesting and frustrating at the same time about being a content creator is there's so many different platforms, there's so many different avenues, and we're all talented in very different ways. So
Mm,
not everyone's going to be able to rise to the top in the just chatting category of Twitch. Some people, that's exactly where they need to be. Other people, like I have a friend who does ballet, and I'm still trying to convince her to do TikTok videos of dancing because instead of just sitting and playing video games on the stream, because it's this is a natural talent you have or a natural skill that you have. Why not use this to your advantage and focus on that? And you're exactly right. Like my partner is actually an artist and would stream art on Twitch, but as soon as they started putting up time-lapsed videos on TikTok of their art, popped off immediately because it's so
hmm
satisfying to watch. And the same thing for people who do makeup. Do some time lapses of your makeup, put those up on TikTok or something, or Instagram Reels or wherever. Yeah, it is. There's definitely a formula that goes along with these advice videos, and they go across not just the Twitch advice, but I follow a lot of like girl boss, like how to grow your Instagram kind of, and a lot of them are just like the same stuff over and over and again. And at a certain point, it becomes parroting for sure. And I also think there's the niche problem of everyone compares themselves to everyone else in the niche and tries to just make the same videos they've made instead of making what's organic to them.
hmm
So it's it's a lot. I guess maybe I could ask you here, how is it that you come up with your video topics for any of your channels? And I would love to talk to you more about your personal channel and how you're separating what you do on Stream Scheme from what you're doing on your personal channel. And was that a struggle for you to make that channel? Did you ever consider putting it on your main channel or anything like that?
Oh God, no, no. I
Oh
would
wow, okay.
never, ever upload content that wasn't streaming or content creation advice to Stream Scheme. The YouTube algorithm despises diversity in terms of your content ideas.
Mm,
Like that, it really does. If one thing I've learned over the last 3 years as VSEO is that you want niche channels focused on just one thing, which is why one of the worst things that's ever going to happen is I'm trying to grow this personal channel because my personal channel is purely going to be variety, right? Like that's all it's going to be. It's going to be me doing whatever I want that I think is a fun idea, which means it's going to take ages to grow and to truly be able to actually have push. I need to release like one video a week, which I
mm,
just can't do while maintaining Stream Scheme as well. And so it's always going to struggle. But the for the YouTube for Stream Scheme, the way I come up with ideas is one of the things I've been doing is I really make sure that I've unfollowed and unsubscribed from every piece of stream advice. I don't watch Harris Heller. I don't watch anyone else. I respect a lot of these people, but I don't watch anyone else because I don't want my ideas and my concepts to be jaded or to be shifted or to just follow one person, right?
mm,
Because the whole point of Stream Scheme and the reason Stream Scheme saw success was because it was about my experiences as a small streamer growing. You know what I mean? Like the first video that ever popped off was literally me just sat there telling people, here is how I got to 30 average viewers in under 60 days, right? Like this is how I did it. This is a step by step about how I did it. Will it work for you? I don't know, but I didn't use a YouTube channel to get here. And people really connected with that concept of just hearing a journey from someone who wasn't that much bigger than them. You know what I mean? Because if you grew 4 years ago and you have 1,000 viewers, I don't really think you have the ability to separate yourself and go, if I was starting right now today, what would I do? How could I do this? And it's just hard to do that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I unsubscribed from all of that. And now all of my content is purely based on my stream, my successes, my failures. It's based on my new YouTube channel and my StreamScheme channel about the successes and failures. But also, I spend a huge amount of time interacting with the StreamScheme community in the StreamScheme Discord. I am in there every single day for about an hour or two, answering questions, replying to people, joking around with them, interacting with them, watching their memes. And I want to make sure that I am consistently interacting with someone who has 0 to 10 viewers, who knows exactly what they're struggling with, who is out there doing their best, because otherwise I'm going to lose touch and I'm going to end up doing videos that no one is going to get any help from, because at the end of the day, they're just not aimed at them. And I always get people saying things like, you're the only content creator who has over 100,000 subs or whatever it is, who I've seen actually interacting with their audience. Normally just have their mods helping them out and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to understand what my audience wants if I'm not in here interacting with you guys? You know what I mean? So that's how I come up with my ideas. I purely just base it on my own experiences, or else I just feel like I'm going to lose touch too quickly.
And staying in touch with your community. Yeah, this definitely makes me want to ask you about boundaries, because you're spending several hours, an hour to 2 hours or so a day. How would we say this? Like on the ground, in the battlefield, in the trenches. That's the phrase I'm looking for. In the trenches with your community, and especially as someone who teaches small streamers or people who are trying to get into streaming, growing. Do you ever deal with boundary issues or people overstepping or expecting a lot from you? I think it's like what I'm kind of struggling with lately is like an entitlement to my energy and my time. And I also am feeling a little trapped or boxed in by people who, this happens to a lot of people I see hit partner. They get the community that's like, oh wow, you've changed since you got the check mark, or you're like that kind of thing. And this kind of, I still don't really know how to formulate this question because I'm so neck deep and struggling in it, I suppose. But I think that this question is around boundaries, community members, maybe seeing your community as an audience rather than your friends. That's another thing that I'm kind of going through here. Maybe you can pull a question out of this kind of vague thing.
No, 100%. I totally know where you're coming from. So I've not been a huge Twitch watcher. I've always been a lurker, right? But when I came into Twitch, one of the things I wanted to make sure I established to people was that I'm not their friend, right? And in no way am I their friend. They are a collective of people, and I'm not going to be friends with all of them, right? That's just how it is. Even when I had 5 viewers, even when I had 15 viewers, I was always very, very intense about this. In fact, it's an entire meme in my community now that they will try and like catch me out and try and be like, you just said friend, you said friendos, are we friends? Like, it's a fun joke. It's a fun back and forth. But like, what I've got 3 rules essentially. I've always got these 3 rules. I've had them set up since day one. I will not privately DM with anyone who is not a moderator or a community moderator, right? I will not do it. If you add me as a friend, I'm sorry. Like, no, unless we're collaborating or a mod or something like that, it's not happening. We can do everything in the public Discord. Second, unless there's something urgent moderation thing, do not ping me. Just do not. You don't need to ping me. I read the Discord when I read it. You don't need to worry about it. And then the third thing is, at the end of the day, I will never, ever, ever, ever say things like "I love you" or "You guys, let's play community games offline," or do this or that or that. It is always eventized. It is always content based. It is always a separation, and I do that because I would rather have, one of the big problems I see is a lot of the time people will get a sub and they'll go, "Oh, I love you guys. You guys are the best. You let me do what I do. Woo!" And it's like, it's like that's where the boundaries start to cross. And I don't think people realize it, that the kind of positive encouragement that they do is also a big part of why the boundaries get crossed. And so I those 3 rules have always really helped me. I still do community events, we still do games in the Discord, but it's always a specific event. It's never like I'm gonna just hang out with some friends kind of thing. And I know that maybe is harsh, and some people think that is harsh. And I know some content creators say to me things like, you're holding yourself back by being kind of intense about this. But at the same time, I also know that my audience is there for the content and not because they're there because of some weird emotional connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing for me. And I always say to them like, why? Like it's Friday night. What are you guys up to? And they'll be like, oh, I was gonna go out and do this, blah blah, but I might not. And I'm like, you should actually go spend time with your friends. Yeah, you should leave stream honestly if you can. You should go play Discord or something. I'm not too worried about it. That sounds like a really fun time. You should go do
Yeah.
that. Um, and I don't know. I think people expect a lot of time, but I just put those boundaries in, and then my moderators help enforce that. And also in the Stream Scheme Discord, I've added it so that if anyone pings me, my entire at is now a kick. So
Oh my gosh.
because there's 55,000 people in the Stream Scheme
Yeah,
Discord.
that's totally fair.
Yeah, and and so I say to them, the rules are everywhere. Like it says, don't do these things, and if they do it, it's like, you just can't mess with it. So I don't know. That's just my
It's
thoughts. That's just my
interesting.
opinions.
You've grown really rapidly. Let me to try to understand your timeline a little better. Prior to 2 years ago, before you started streaming, did you have any kind of online following at all?
No, I came into this zero. I completely made whole new social medias, whole new everything's. Everything before that was just me talking to my mates. I didn't even have Twitter. Don't have Instagram. I was never a social media guy. In fact, I kind of despise it, to be honest. I hated Facebook. I hated all of it. Um, and so I just kind of came into this completely fresh because my mate said he really liked, like, I just was showing him Divinity Original Sin 2. That's all it was. I was showing him to try and convince him to buy it so we could co-op Divinity Original Sin 2. And then 2 hours passed and he said, can you do this on Twitch? You should do this on Twitch. Like, go on, man. Like, this is good. I know you've always wanted to. You should. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll give it a go. And what I actually did was, and I've talked about this in videos ages ago, and I've talked about it again in a new video that's supposed to go out tonight or tomorrow. But essentially, I was a creative writer and a video producer. And I know how hard it is to produce videos, as I said. So I focused on the creative writing aspect. So what I did was I started streaming to about 4 or 5 friends. They weren't overly active in chat. And what I did was I streamed XCOM 2, which is a Iron Man kind of game. Like you create characters, you give them names, you make them look a certain way, you run them out there, they die, they're dead for good, right? You can't well, you can save scum, but you don't, right?
Yeah.
And what I did was I jumped on Reddit and I made a big post and I was like, hello, commanders, it's me, XCOM here, and we're looking for recruits. And I did this whole big post, and I didn't say once that it was going to be a live stream. Right? I didn't say it at all. I just sat down, I wrote this big old post, and I said, here's a template, sign up in the comments below. And it got so much traction. Like thousands of upvotes. I had like 100 people sign up with their like character, like I'm Dr. Wilson Jakes, and here's my guy, and here's what he has. He's got these things going on. He's missing a leg. His favorite colors are these. Can you make his outfit this? And I was like, yeah. And so the next day, I correlated all of them down into a big list. I opened up the stream. I opened up the game. It was my first stream. And I played XCOM 2, and I used their characters in my game. And then after the stream, I wrote up a whole story about how the first few missions went. Oh, Dr. Wilson was shot in the leg, and he's in the hospital. This is that, this is that. I got a bunch of highlights from the stream, highlighted it myself, got a bunch of screenshots, uploaded it all to Imgur. And then I included all these screenshots of when Wilson got the grenade hit, when this happened, told a whole role play story. Didn't mention that I streamed it at all. Okay, didn't mention it, just shared it all. You just got a big raid, by the way.
I was gonna say, I wanted to let you finish, but welcome in everybody from Pisces Pixie's channel. Pixie, thank you so much for the raid. We are open to questions. I still got a couple that I want to just pick LJ's brain about. But if y'all have anything in specific you'd like to see us touch in, feel free to drop them in chat. Panthera, if you could highlight and get my attention on them, that would be great. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for the support. And we're going to jump back into the conversation. We've been chatting all about the lifestyle of being a content creator. We are kind of touching into boundaries right now. And LJ was just telling us about this, your first stream, which is a very creative idea, a very interesting idea. And you're immediately creating engagement with your audience. I think that's something that after I guess researching you is how I'll say it for the last couple of days, and then having this conversation with you, I think this might be one of your best skills, is creating an engaging environment around you so that people feel like they're heard, or their opinions and thoughts are cared about, to the point where you're like, I'm putting your character in my show and creating content around it. Is this something that you learned to do, or is this just a natural LJ?
So this I think comes from the content creators that I liked to watch. So as I said, I always used to be a lurker, right? Like that was
Hmm.
what I was. But the content creators who I liked to watch were the Yogscast, right? Like the Yogscast, a little bit of Ludwig back in the day, like old school Lud and stuff like that. Um, that's one of my founders in chat, by the way. Lockie's, who's just popped up in
Aw.
chat, said, "Hi, I've heard of him. He's one of my founding subs, and he's been around since the OG days. I think he rocked up on my very first community night. He was
Aw.
like my 38th or 39th follower, and he's stuck with me the whole time, which is pretty
Wow.
wild.
We love to see that support. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he had 24 months subbed as of like a few days ago, which is wild.
Aw. So that's probably the whole time you've
Um,
had subscriptions available.
it- yep. He was like my 14th sub or something like that. It's pretty wild. But I had to work for his though. I had to work for his. A few of the other founders, the moment I got affiliate, it was in. But Lockie was like, I want to give it a couple days and see how he's doing. You know, I'm gonna see if it fits for him. And I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I feel that. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I used to watch Yogscast and Sips and a lot of these people and Ludwig and stuff. And one thing they always did in their streams was if they were doing XCOM, they would pick names from chat and they would make the characters from chat, or they'd make their Pokemon named after chatters on all these things. And that was a really big thing for me. Is like I thought that was so much fun, and so I took that and I really pushed into that. And I think that that's something that was really good as a small creator. As I get larger, finding a balance has been really difficult because I
Mm.
see there's other things as well. Like for example, I'll do streams where I'm like giving every chatter a nickname, where I'll just give them terrible nicknames, and I just do word association in my brain where I'm like, oh, your name is your name is Lockie's Locksmith, okay, picking locks, Rogue, and I'll just like do this whole thing, and then I'll give them a really bad nickname at the end of it, and that was really great when I had 50 viewers because every single person got a nickname. But then you start getting to 100 to 200 viewers,
Oh
and
yeah.
suddenly it's like you can't name everyone. And it's so hard to find how you balance that out without people getting disappointed. And nowadays, it kind of backfires in that people are super excited, but then they get a nickname and they feel bad and they leave. So, yeah, the engagement has been something that I've always worked on and I've always loved, and I really pushed hard to do it. But at the same time, it's been an interesting experience for the last 6 months, readjusting my content to be less so about the back and forth with chat and more so about here is me making content, and this is good content for the collective. This is what I always say these days is you can make content for the individual where you reply to every single message, or you can make content for your collective where you make it for every single person who's there at once. And I say, well, as you grow, you need to transition to the collective, and you will see people get upset. Like I came back this year and I started being a bit more like I'm gonna pick out messages that inspire me to make funny jokes, tell stories, or create conversation rather than reply hot quickly to every single message. And on my very first stream back, I missed someone's message saying hello, and they dropped in my chat, "Are we just not saying good morning anymore?"
Mm.
And I was like, I just missed your message, man, because I was telling a funny story. I'm not insulting you, but you'll get that, right? And I think a lot of streamers panic about that. Like, I don't want to miss a message, but it's like, if someone is just there because they want to have the one-to-one engagement with you, is that the person you want in your community, or do you
Mm.
want people who are there for your content? It's what you were saying earlier about like people aren't here for me anymore; they're here for my streaming advice. You know, and it's why 6 months ago I also said to people, I'm going to stop answering stream advice questions on my nighttime streams. You know, and I've really slowly pushed that harder and harder this year. I said I'm not going to answer any streaming advice questions on my nighttime streams. And of course, every time I said that, 20 people leave. But it's
But you're
fine.
like that's how I felt recently is like when I'm noticing these numbers dropping after I've been putting a lot of boundaries into place lately. And once I and the hit, I'm like, oh, I just lost X amount of followers, or I just saw this many people leave or whatever. I'm actually feeling really good about it right now because I'm like, good. This is not the people I wanted here, and I no longer have to engage in this or be worried about this, or like Pixie saying in chat, driving yourself anxious to keep on top of that one-on-one engagement. I see it so often. It's been
Mm,
a hard thing for me to bounce on because I drive myself so much on, hey milk time, hey Lockies, hey creative girl, welcome in everyone, like saying
mm-hmm,
everyone's name out loud, but it's or like responding to everything, but it's absolutely not sustainable.
mm,
And this is probably where you'll see so many people who are like, oh my god, I feel so bad because I can't say hi to everyone in chat, and then they stop what they're doing and they start scrolling through chat and they're like, oh hi, creative girl, Lily the nerd, goth fish, I'm sorry I missed what you said. And it's like you're letting them control the show at this point, and you're no
Mm,
longer being, I guess, maybe a powerful content creator. I say this to a lot of small streamers that I interact with, is like, if you're depending on chat, or you're just sitting there nonstop, like the only thing that drives you, I'll see people sit silent until someone says something in chat and then they start talking. You're not the
yeah,
entertainment, chat is.
yeah. Well,
So
I have a really harsh line that I say in every single video where it comes to making good content. I say this line every single time because it always comes up, because people, small creators, love to say, how am I supposed to be entertaining when I don't have a chat? Right? Like, I don't have anyone to bounce off. It's too difficult. And I always say the exact same thing. And it's just a stupid, it's like a rip off, like that classic movie quote of, if you're nothing without the suit, then
yes,
you're nothing, you know?
I
But
was
I
gonna
say
say
to
some
people like,
Iron Man, Spider-Man shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I always say the same thing. I go, if you're not entertaining without a chat, you're not going to be entertaining with a chat, because it's just a fact of it, right? You just can't do it. And I say to people, they go, yeah, but why am I supposed to be entertaining right now if no one's watching? And I always say the same thing again. I go, if you're only going to be entertaining when you have viewers, you're never going to have viewers. Because at the end of the day, you need to be thinking about, as I always say, bigger goals. Aim for bigger things than just wanting a few viewers in your chat. If you can sit there for 3 hours and do a really entertaining, engaging stream where you're constantly thinking about, this is a great 8-second clip, this is a fantastic moment. Oh my God, if I pretend to fail on this boss right here, this will be a really funny moment. And then you go through, you watch your 3-hour stream back, you clip, 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 you clip like 30, 40 moments of it. You can just throw them in any of these online services like Join Combo or any of these things. You make 30 TikToks, and because you've been thinking about what works, you release 30 TikToks. Not every single one will be successful, but some of them might get 1 million views. You know what I mean? If it's a really funny one, you put your work into it. Or you do what Point Crow did, right? And this is something that I talk about in this video coming up, is that Point Crow, everyone always acts like he has all these resources and that's why he's able to do all these amazing, huge videos. And the same with Small Ant. They're like, oh, I can't do content like Small Ant. I can't do content like Point Crow. These guys do such huge challenges. I could never do that. But you go back and you look and it's like, okay, Point Crow has a video where he beat the Great Plateau blindfolded with nothing but a chat telling him where to go. He couldn't see the
Wow.
game and that stuff there. And everyone's like, yeah, how am I supposed to do that? You know, I don't have a chat. And it's like, okay, maybe not that specific idea. But Point Crow had average of 18 viewers when he did that. It was his 5th video or something. He had 18 viewers. That's what you have to do. You've got to go and you got to go be like, I'm going to stream this game. I'm going to stream this cool idea that is bigger than just highlights, bigger than just me playing a Let's Play. And I'm going to do it for an hour, 2 hours, and then I'm just going to pump it down into my journey doing X thing, right? And that's how you actually get people in. That's how you actually get viewers, not just from being like, I guess I'll sit here until someone rocks up and then I'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot
but
like
people don't understand.
a busker in like a downtown with their music. Like, they
Mm,
can't wait for an audience to form around them and then start playing. You have to be playing the music the whole time, and then people gather, and then you can't stop playing once the crowd gathers. You got to play harder and play better because like they're here.
yeah.
I guess we'll go ahead and turn to a question in chat from Milk Tea Time. How do you go about finding or choosing mods? So this is going to kind of bounce back to our boundary question. What does a relationship between a streamer and a mod look like, and what are the boundaries there?
For me personally, a moderator is someone who's been around long enough, and I think they reflect the same sense of humor and the same values I have. A big thing is them understanding the sense of humor, or the boundaries it's not boundaries, sorry, the sense of humor and the way I approach situations. Because I am a very progressive person. I don't allow people to use. I know on Twitch there's a lot of people who use the R word when talking about
Mm,
those in a negative context. I don't do that. I know people in real life, you know, who have that, and they're lovely, the kindest people. There's nothing negative about them, right? And I have a lot of things like that I don't like either. For example, if someone comes into my chat and tries to make a blonde joke, I cut all my music and I look at their chat and I read it out really slowly and I go, "Can you explain the joke? I don't understand it." And then they kind of sat there and they have to figure out like, "Oh, I'm saying that blonde person dumb," and I have to go, "Oh, that's not very funny," and they look like an idiot, right?
yeah.
And so I'm kind of intense about those things because I think you can make a lot of jokes without punching down. That's my big
Yeah,
rule.
I agree.
So I try and find moderators who I think reflect the same values I have, but also reflect the same humor I have, and who I think are very ingrained in the community. So what I did first was one of my pretty much my head mod, my main mod. His name is Kresman, and he's pretty much, we have the same sense of humor, same values, and we respect a lot of the same things. We added him as a mod, and now if I need mods, if I need anything, I just tell him, hey, here's all the applications. Who do you think is a good one? Who do you think is a bad one? And he just says, this one's good, this one's bad, this one's this one's good, this, blah, blah, blah. And I go, cool. And I just respect that because he's more ingrained in the community, right? Like
Right.
I know my community, but at the end of the day, he is actually the one who will play games with them offline. He's the one who will be in a Discord call with them watching, anime at 2 a.m. in the morning. He knows what people's values are. He knows where the lines are with these people. And they're all lovely people, but some of them are mod material and some of them aren't mod material.
Right.
But he's the one who now goes through and selects the mods. I do the application process and act like it's me. But then if anyone ever gets upset about not being selected, I go, well, actually, it's him. He's the one.
No. I was gonna ask, have you ever had any like toxic mod scenarios or mods that you've had to ban? Or I've dealt with this a few times. I mean, I've been streaming for 6 years and I certainly have grown and learned a lot. And there's been a couple of I modded the wrong people, didn't realize it. You're much shorter time frame, so I wonder if this is happening at a rapid rate, a more rapid rate. It's very interesting to see. Like I have more of a slow burn with mine, and yours is just kind of like popped and exploded. So yeah, let me backtrack to the question. Have you dealt with any toxic mod situations or people that you might have had to ban or things like that?
Not necessarily toxic mods. We did add a few mods early on. This is actually before I brought Kresman on. And we added a few mods who were demodded because of just general activity. Maybe didn't really fit what I was going for. And I don't really mind. I've always kind of had the concept in my head of let's do the hard conversation now or let's do the hard ban now before I have to worry about it. Not necessarily toxicity, but when it comes to banning people, I've had to ban core community members, people who have really intensely become part of the core community before. But I always think that it's better to ban someone who is sending your community down the wrong path, bringing in the wrong vibes, than it is to let them sit around. Because if you let people sit around and spend time, your community kind of drives itself at a certain point. Like you can take a lot of action to make them think or joke or focus on certain vibes. But if there are a few people in there who are core community members who start steering you down the wrong path, that's when things will start to get out of your control. You can't do anything there because if your entire community is making the same jokes that you don't like, that's bad, right? And so there are a few core communities that I've had to warn, and core community members who I've had to warn, only one or two. And then if they don't respect the warn, there have been times where I've had to ban them. And some of these people are huge gifters, right? They're huge gifters. Like one of them had been gifting like 20, 30 subs a month for like 6 months, and I kept saying to them, "Hey, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I appreciate the support, but what you're doing." They kind of gatekeeping, like they were kind of gatekeeping the community about who was a real community member and who wasn't, because they were around before I saw this big boost of growth. So January of last year, StreamScheme started going a bit viral, and so I went from like 100 average to like 200 average overnight, pretty much. And that was a big moment where these people or this one person started gatekeeping quite intensely to the new people coming in of who is a community member, who isn't. And I was like, that's not on. And they started getting more toxic. And then I saw a few messages where I was like, okay, well, it's not on. And we had to ban them. And one of the rules I have is if I'm banning someone, the community doesn't need to know why. That's a boundary of it.
Yeah.
Mods and I have made a decision. You either have to respect it or you don't respect it. I don't care. We've made a decision for the community. but because we didn't tell anyone that this person had been DMing and bullying people, right? Because we didn't tell anyone, I lost about 4 or 5 other core community members. But I don't care. Because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't trust the moderators, someone doesn't trust my actions, someone doesn't trust that what I'm doing is the appropriate thing and that I want to do for my community, then that's okay. They don't have to stick around. And I know that sounds super strange to say that I don't care about my big gifters. I don't care if they're a core community member. The only thing I care about is my chat vibe. But I honestly think more people should care about the energy their chatters are bringing. And if someone is bringing the wrong energy, especially as a small streamer, you need to correct that. Because your chat will reflect you, and it doesn't matter what people like Summit or any of these people say, oh, you can't control your chat. You can. Your chat will always reflect who you are. Like, that's what it is. Especially for small streamers, because if someone writes a message that doesn't fit the vibe for a small streamer, that message will sit in your chat.
Forever.
It won't go away.
Yeah, if you only have like 5 viewers and there's one person in there that is you know, they're just off a little bit, they don't have to be like breaking a rule, but if they're just like slightly off or like negative, toxic, any of these things, controlling, like you said, gatekeeping the community is a big one, and that kind of calls back to the community trying to keep you small. Wow, you've changed a lot, and you know, you can't even say hi to me in chat anymore, kind of thing. Like that's that kind of like toxicity I'm talking about. And I love what Pixie has said in chat. This man knows his boundaries and doesn't seem afraid of the consequences of them. That's what I struggle with the most. The consequences.
It's good and bad though.
Why do you think it's bad?
Well, because I get in trouble. Like at the end of the day, it's like because I think that one of the things that I found 6 months ago that caused this massive dip to start was that I lost my confidence in who I was, right? And I lost my confidence in who I was and the things I was saying and the things I was doing, because I felt like I had to do certain things in order to maintain my viewership, in order to maintain my growth, in order to maintain my chatters. But because I lost that confidence, I stopped enjoying it. And when you lose that confidence, your chat becomes something you don't like as well. For example, I think my chat was fine. They were good people and they were good eggs, but I don't think they were the chat that I wanted a long term. Nowadays, I think my chat right now is the chat that I want to take with me if I get to 1,000, right? Like and the thing is, it's not that I don't want to grow. I want to be massive, but I want this type of chat, right? But I think that it's good because it means that my chat will always be the way it is, but it's also bad because if you hold on too tight or you go too intense on it, then you're going to, in a weird way, turn people away because they want a little bit of freedom. And you have to be okay to let them have a little bit of freedom, or you have to be a little bit lenient here and there. And sometimes I know that I can be too strict. But that is because I've had bad experiences where my chat was no longer the way I wanted it to be. And I think that's fine. It's just a balancing act. So it's good and bad to have that confidence and to not care about the consequences. But also, I do use my touchstone, which is my moderators now. For example, Benjamin, who's another one of my mods, has just rocked up in chat. And you can tell he's one of my mods because he wrote, when you stop enjoying it, that's when burnout really starts, because he's been listening to me for 6 months. But yeah, so I don't know. It's good and bad.
I like to troll you. That's awesome.
But I don't know. So I think that it's good to be confident in these things, but I do think the consequences sometimes can be too drastic because you've gone too far, right? I've gone too far.
I was expecting to go into your Twitch streams and see nothing but questions about Twitch streaming.
Oh yeah.
I was surprised to see that it wasn't that way. And I think that you've done a really great job of separating ElJay from StreamScheme, and I think that's really difficult because I definitely feel I don't have quite the metrics that you do, but I definitely see it happen in my streams as well. We're doing tarot tonight, or we're playing Animal Crossing or whatever, and then someone comes in and is like, "How do you get your microphone set up for this and that and the other?" And then sometimes I'll let myself get derailed, and I've had to learn to just sometimes just ignore it, and it makes me feel bad, but it's also like, that's not what this place is for right now. It's not what this space is about.
So Benjamin in particular can attest to this very hard, that over the past 6 months, I've slowly gone from answering almost every question that comes in, or at the very least being like, hey man, I've got a video on that. Yeah, here's the link to it, kind of thing. Like, 'cause I got all these commands and stuff set up. To over the last 6 months going from that to answering every occasionally if it's interesting to me, to just straight out now I would just say to people, I'm not talking about that right now, I'm really, really sorry. But my magic words, I have a little magic words that I say to them. I always say the exact same thing. I go, I really appreciate that you want me to talk about that right now and you want help with that. I have covered it on the YouTube channel, but I will throw it out there, guys. If I don't stream the way I want to stream, if all I do is sit here and answer streaming questions, if all I do is become someone who only talks about stream advice, then I will never be able to give you the advice that you actually need. I need to sit here and be an entertainer and a streamer first, because otherwise I'm just going to be regurgitating the same things and I will never become a better content creator. And they always respect that. They're always like, that's actually a good point. Sorry, let's just vibe. And they'll switch it over and they'll switch gears and they'll be like, you know, you're right. This isn't the place for it. I'm going to go watch the video, or I'm just going to hang out here. And the people who don't like that, they leave, and that's fine. You don't want them in your chat. But the people who do like that concept and want to spend time with you, they stick around.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So that's my big thing is I've spent the last 6 months slowly curating that. And, you know, 130 average have stuck around, which is awesome.
You've done an excellent job. It's really cool to see. So you've kind of created a very clear separation between like I'm kind of going through a similar thing right now. It's like the educator and the entertainer. Like you've created a clear separation between these two like major pieces of your personality, I guess we'll say, or your function as a creator. And you've also kind of mastered diversifying yourself across multiple platforms, which is another thing that I know a lot of advice is like start a YouTube, start a TikTok, but I think what it really should be funneled down to is diversifying where you're spreading your content across or how you're creating content. And that could lead us into the next question from Gothfish, who says, hi Gothfish, by the way. I have a question. How would you guys recommend splitting time creating content between different platforms when Twitch is your main, but you want to branch out without getting burnt out?
Yeah.
This is okay. So this is where I start to be the guy that says do X, Y, Z instead of what other people say. A lot of people will say, diversify, be on every platform. Like there's a massive thing where every single advice person I watched when I started was like, be on every single platform. Now, here's the thing. I don't like every single platform. In fact, I hate most platforms, as I said. You know, I love YouTube and I love Twitch. Not a big fan of TikTok, but I learned how to use it. Don't like Instagram because I think it's just full of bots. Don't like any of these things. And I'm just like, I just don't like this stuff. So my big thing was, I think you should be specific and I think you should be actionable. Look at your skills and pick which platforms you want to start on, right? When I started Twitch, I focused just on Twitch. And then I expanded into YouTube. And I spent, you know, I made it very clear that I was going to do my streams these days, going to do this time, and I set a schedule for it. And I set KPIs, so key performance indicators, which were just purely like, I want to release one video a week while I still maintain my 5 streams a night. And then once I had Twitch down pat is when I actually was like, I'm good to do YouTube now. I didn't do any other social media. I wasn't there tweeting every day. I wasn't there doing TikToks every day. I waited until my YouTube channel was up and running. I understood it. I was confident in it. And then I was willing to expand. Because I think too many people add too much to their plate early on, and it causes them to have low quality content on 5 different platforms, and they learn way slower. Rather than just focusing on 1 or 2 platforms, becoming decent quality at it, understanding it, getting into a rhythm with it, and then add something small to the plate. You know what I mean? So for me, I didn't start doing new socials until StreamScheme was bringing in decent viewership, and I'd cut back to 1 video a month. And then I started the new YouTube channel. And once the new YouTube channel was functioning, I had my editor working on it, then I added TikTok to it, right? And I'm probably not going to continue TikTok in a way that's intensive. It's going to be something that I just play with and try out to stay on top on, you know? But I really do think that at the end of the day, too many people are saying be on every platform too quickly. And I would rather just focus on one thing. You know, I've got a mate, Nick Tacular, who's an amazing streamer. We do a podcast together called The Stream Room. And on it, he was talking about how he's got 3 YouTube channels that he's focusing on this year. He's got his tech channel, he's got his gaming channel, and he's got another channel, I think for shorts or VODs or something like that. And I was kind of like, you know, maybe just focus on one? Like, I know you want to do all of them because you like them, but like, just focus on the one you enjoy most and really understand the concepts first. And he was like, oh, I think I can do it though. I think I can pull it off. And I can be like, and I was like, you know, maybe you can, but I had, you know, 7 to 8 years as a video producer experience and then 2 years as a VSEO, and I couldn't run. I know I can't run 2 channels now. You know what I mean? And he was like, okay. Which one do you think I should run? And I was like, well, for starters, the tech channel is super easy. Like tech and education and search intent is so easy to do as a content creator. And he was like, cool, okay, I'm going to focus on that one then. So that's how I split my time is I become proficient in one platform, and then I slowly add things to my plate once I'm confident in what I'm doing. It's not necessarily about setting an intense schedule of this day I'm only going to do X, because you can't do that. It just doesn't work. No one's that confident. No one is that what's the best way of putting it? No one is that rigid in being able to motivate and discipline themselves. But I think, yeah, just add slowly to your plate rather than trying to be on everything at once.
But yeah, I am greatly loving this conversation. This is it's interesting because I feel like there's some stuff that we're like on the same level at, and other things it's like you're a little step ahead of me, and I'm like getting to like get a little bit of mentorship out of this interview too. So I really do appreciate your time here today, and your advice. I think it's really amazing to have seen you. I think that like something I'm really admiring about you is the boundary setting and the not giving a heck, I guess. Like
Yeah.
you know, I put the boundaries in, and this is something I think that is, I'm someone who cycles through burnout. This is one of, you talked about it. Like, you could see your numbers up at 200 and then they start to dip down. If you go through mine, they're like, get up to partner numbers, plummet for 3 months, I'm gone for 3 months. I go for 6 months, I get up to partner, plummet, I'm gone for 3 months. I cycle through burnout. I overextend, I overcreate. So this question that Gothfish had about balancing your time, and I'm also curious how you balance this with your lifestyle, because you mentioned you're married. How do you make time for everything, for not just creating all of this content, but for your personal life, and maybe even like taking care of your body? Because I think in one of your streams you had mentioned you're on a weight loss journey right now. How are you balancing all of these different things?
So I've always been this kind of person who I become hyper focused on something, right? I become incredibly hyper focused, and when I become incredibly hyper focused, everything else falls all the wayside, right? So when I decided to start streaming, I didn't come into it with the idea of doing it as a hobby. I hyper focused and said, this is what I want to do. I've always wanted to do this. This is what I want to do. So for my very first year as a stream, and if you look at my Twitch tracker and you pull up my streams, you'll see every little green dot for that first year is when I went live. I set a schedule of five streams a week, and for that entire first like year and a bit, I missed 6 streams.
Wow.
So there were 5 streams a week, and I missed 6, and those 6 were, I believe, Christmas. There were 2 days or 3 days at Christmas, and then there were 3 days where I was sick, and that was it, right? I drove myself to it. But in that first year, I also had 3 jobs. So in my very first year, I was a sole trader, but I had contracts with 2 other jobs that I did for them through my business. But it was kind of like I was an employee, but I was a contractor sort of thing. So during the day, I would work on one job, which was a job where I was doing VSEO and making videos for a company. Then I would stream of the night, and then afterwards I would do one of my other jobs, and then other days I would add them in, and Saturdays and Sundays I would also do. So I was doing 7 days of work. I had 3 jobs, and then I had content creation. 6 months in, I had the YouTube channel where I'm doing 1 video a week. So Stream Scheme, Twitch 5 days, Stream Scheme once a week. I had 3 other jobs, everything, and essentially the short of it is there was no balance. There was absolutely zero balance.
Like, wow.
And people, and here's the problem, right? A lot of people say that's so impressive, but I'll throw it out there. It's not. It's incredibly unhealthy.
It's making me sweaty thinking about it. Like,
you could do it, and you could do it, and at the end of the day, you may not see any success as well, which is the really scary part. But I did see success, and that's amazing, and that's brilliant. But do I recommend it to people? No. It was too much. I didn't get to see my wife. She worked opposite schedules to me. So she was out all day while I was working from home, and then I'd go live and she'd be in bed by the time that I ended. And I barely saw my wife for that first year. And on weekends I had work as well, right? And it wasn't until like March or something where I was like, man, I've got everything I want. Like I was like, I've got 200 average viewers. I'm getting like 30,000 views every video. Things are going really well. I've got a huge community that's doing really well. I'm lonely.
oh,
Like
yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
I was like I'm getting messaged like every single day, every minute of the day by people wanting to talk and things like that. But I'm really lonely. Like I was like I'm tired. And I said to people, I'm gonna go to 4 days a week, guys. I'm out. Saturdays in my me time again. I'm out. And I made the rule. I said to myself, I will only use content creation and making content full time as my job once I'm earning 3 times a month, like 3 times more than my other 3 jobs combined. And I have to have that happen for 3 to 6 months. And so come March of last year, I reached that, and I just said, I'm out, guys. I'm out. I've been for 5 months now. I was like for 4.5 months now. I've earned 3 times the amount of my other 3 jobs combined. Because as a contractor and as a sole trader and a small business, I wasn't earning a huge amount from any particular job. But I was like, I'm gonna focus on this now, and I guys got to do it. I'm really sorry. I'm out. So I left. I also dropped back down to 4 days a night, 4 days a week. And I suddenly had this really healthy balance again, right? And I was so much happier, and I was so much healthier, and my content started thriving because I wasn't dead tired. I was doing more during the day. I was going for walks. I was doing all these things, and it was so much healthier and so much better. And I think one of the big things I see new creators do is they'll get out there and they will just stream and stream and stream and make content and make content and make content. And then you go look at all their streams and their content, and it is pretty boring because they've got nothing to talk about.
Yes.
Like they've got no experiences. And the only reason that first year I was so successful was because I would just tell stories about my life and the interesting things I'd done. Like I remember once I told a story and I was laughing, and Lockies, who's in chat now, wrote in my chat saying, one of my favorite things are your stupid anecdotes. I've never heard anyone talk about things like you have, because it's just I would just go on these long rants about things that were stupid and didn't make sense. But I found myself after that first year running out of things to say because I just only been making content for a year. You know what I mean? And so I cut it all back and I started being healthier. And 6 months ago, I again cut more back out of my schedule to be healthier and to diversify into more fun things. And the start of this year, so January 1st, I got a big board up now with all my that has like all my schedule on it and stuff like that. But I got rid of all of that and I turned that purely into a health board, right? So January 1st, I was
Of this year?
90 of this year, yeah, this year. January 1st, I was 98.6 kilos, which it was the heaviest I'd been in 2 years. About 4 years ago, I ballooned because of depression up to about 115 kilos, all right, which was the heaviest I'd ever been. And on the December 1st, I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to lose all this. I said, I'm going to lose everything. I stopped drinking. I started exercising. I started eating healthier. And from December 1st, this is 4 years ago, until January 31st, I went down to like 85 kilos just by changing my health and habit, right? And I was like, I'm going to stay here. But over the last year and 2 years, because of all the stress, streaming, it's a very sedentary job. I'm no longer running around with camera gear on my back everywhere. Like, it's all just on a tripod and I'm good. So I said, I'm way too close to being back where I was. I don't want to lose all that hard work. So January 1st, 98.6 kilos. And I set the goal. I said, I want to be 80 to 85 kilos again by the next 6 months. But the way I'm going to do that is be very careful. And I said 500 grams a week to be lost. And in the first month, I went down from 98.6 to 90 kilos. So I lost 8.6 in the first month. And now I've gone another kilo down in the last couple of weeks. And I'm at my current goal of 89.5, but I have to reset my board and aim for another 500 grams a week. And the way I've been doing it is I've cut drinking. I'm going for long walks every day for an hour in the sun because it's important to get outside as a streamer. I think it's
yes.
you got to, right? And if you're not healthy, you're not outside, then you're gonna probably struggle. And so I've been working super hard on all those things, and it makes me happier, it makes me healthier. And at the end of the day, it's about that balance. And those 2 hours I could spend releasing videos, but it's like, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a bit of a heavier guy who's not happy with himself, who hasn't been able to go outside, who hasn't been able to listen to, music while he's off on a walk or listen to a podcast or hang out with his friends or do those things. So I want to be that guy who's missed out on all of that, but has released 4 videos this month or has streamed 5 times a week. Or do I want to be someone who's healthy, happy, has lots to talk about, has spent time with his friends, spent time with his wife, And so I just looked at my balance and I just said, no, I can't do this. Is having 250 average viewers more important than me being a healthy weight and getting some sun and getting to spend time with my best mate who I hadn't seen in like a year, And so that's my first 2 years of hyper focusing and having to realize what I was doing was incredibly unhealthy, antisocial, and leading me honestly into probably a very large depression, into just cutting it all back and just focusing on family and life and all those sorts of things, which has been really, really rough. But that's my biggest recommendation. If you are trying to be a content creator, just try and get outside and touch some grass.
Touch grass, literally. Yeah. There's this song lyric that's always like, when I realized it was resonating with me, I was like, oh my God. But it goes, tells himself he can't be lonely because he's never on his own. And as content creators, we're surrounded by people constantly. All we do is talk and communicate and engage and interact. And I have all of these DMs. I have all of these people replying on my tweets and all of these comments on my YouTube video. I could talk to anybody at any point in time that I wanted to, but I'm so lonely. Like, why am I so lonely surrounded by this many people? And it's like that lack of I think that this is probably just pandemic things too, but that lack of face-to-face interaction too with streaming. I mean, yeah, I'm sitting here and I see all these names in chat that I'm talking to, but I'm surrounded by these bright lights and 3 computer screens. I'm talking to a computer. I'm not you know what I mean? That's always been a frustrating part, and it's so I think that there's an overstimulation that happens too that makes us not realize maybe not how the lack of substance that some of these interactions are actually having as far as a physical, animalistic, social creature human is concerned.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear you talking about prioritizing health. It's really kind of serendipitous too. That's one of my that might be my main goal of 2022 is healthy body. Make my body healthy again. How did I get to this? Why did I let it get to this point? And it's because I sit in this computer chair 12 hours a day. There's that other phrase, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Like,
Yeah.
it's
No,
so
100%.
hard.
As a streamer, you're just on all the time. Like I was answering emails at 2 a.m. last night, and it was just like I looked at myself like, why am I answering emails at 2 a.m.? What am I doing right now? Like I got so many other things I could be doing. I could be in bed asleep, or I could be honestly having fun. Like I could be watching a TV show that I really like, or reading a book. Like I'm reading through the Witcher series right now. That was another
Oh,
thing.
nice.
I was like, man, I've stopped. I was like, I'll stop reading. So
Mm.
I'm reading through the Witcher series at the moment, which I got to throw it out there. I was expecting more. People had really hyped up the Witcher
Wow.
series.
Okay, see, I haven't read it yet, but I was curious.
So I watched season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix, right? And I was like, this is really cool. People think books are way better. I'm gonna read the books, but I'm gonna throw it out there. At least in the first 4 books, all I'm sitting here is thinking this author has never met a woman in his life.
Oh no, one of those. Okay, okay.
They're just really like 2D right now, flat personalities, like it's literally the whole book opens on like him being like Geralt was awoken from the soft touch of a breast on his nose, and it's like I don't think I've met a woman out there who's like I'm gonna wake my man up with my breasts.
Just be on the face. Let's go.
Yeah,
That's
time for coffee.
So many of these like sci-fi books are like that. There's a lot of different series that because I love sci-fi or fantasy or any of that genre, and I don't know. I guess we just need more women stepping up and writing some books. Let's go. But
I think there are lots of them who are doing it. The problem is, I think that it doesn't
the publicity on it.
The publicity on it, right? It's like it's much harder, and I think a lot of the big series and big books were written years and years and years ago, right? And it's like in 10, 15 years, we're gonna have a nice amount of diversity where people are written well by lots of different people and lots of different stuff like that, and we're moving towards those things. It's just right now all the big stuff is still very
absolutely
flat, and it's so hard. The books are good. The only gripe I have with it is it's like, man, I really thought Yennefer would be a bit more of a baddie. You know what I mean? Like in my head, she was like, yeah, this is Yennefer. She's cool from season 1. She's a bit of a badass. But then I read the books and I'm like, Yennefer really is just like this damsel in distress a lot of the time.
Man, that sucks. Okay.
Yeah. So it sucks. It really sucks. But yeah, anyway, sorry, a little tangent there.
No,
That's just what it is.
fine. Yeah. I was curious because I just watched season 2 of The Witcher when it came out, and I had to rewatch season 1. It's beautiful and wonderful. I love fantasy genre and everything. I actually have you ever played the video game of it?
I tried to play Witcher 3 on stream, but this is an interesting part about streaming, is that there are some games to stream where you just can't do it, or at least I can't do it, right? Because I tried to play The Witcher 3, but because I was trying to also make entertaining content, and you can't make entertaining content out of reading three paragraphs worth of tooltips just to learn how to power up your weapon. And if you don't learn how to power up your weapon, you can't kill a basic enemy, right? And so like for The Witcher 3, I tried to play it, but within like 2 streams, I was confused. I was lost. I couldn't kill anything. All my weapons were broken, but I didn't know how to repair them. Like I couldn't figure. Like I had no idea what was going on. And like Lockie's, who was there at the time, can attest to this. And he literally said in my chat saying, "I love this series, man, but I've only seen like 3 people stream this and understand what the fuck's going on. So don't stress." And I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool. I'm gonna go back to Stardew Valley tomorrow."
Yeah, literally. Okay, so we kind of maybe dig in. What you said that before we started the podcast tonight, that you were kind of experimenting with variety streaming on Twitch, or you're trying to introduce more variety to your content with some of Elden Ring, I believe currently. Have you what kind of formats have you tried on Twitch? Maybe have you done like podcasting or talk show? I know you said you're starting or you have a podcast with a group of your friends. Have you done just chatting? Have you done crafting streams? Have you done like unboxings? How have you been experimenting, and what have you discovered from this?
To answer the question of have you done insert X? Yes. I am an incredibly variety content creator. I have done full unboxing streams. I have done Amazon buy streams. I have done full gameplay streams where it's just gameplay. I have done challenge event streams. Like literally, like I have done every single type of content because I'm experimenting with what I enjoy and what I like. And some of it fails, but some of it, is super successful. So as I said, started out in XCOM doing hard games, moved into doing things like Darkest Dungeon. Then I started doing Stardew Valley, which Stardew Valley did really well for me. Stardew Valley, I transitioned into what I would do is I played Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and all these Nintendo games. But for a while there, I was doing pretty much like I would play a game, and then for the last 2 hours of the stream, like I do a full stream of like 4 hours, and for the last 2 hours, I just play Animal Crossing. I just play it for like this really relaxed moment at the end of every stream, and like I always start every stream with just chatting these days, but I slowly worked into that. So one of the things people always say is, how do I go variety? And I've been variety since day one, and I've always said the same thing. If you want to go full variety, you start out by being there for one game. You niche down for one key demographic. Maybe it's Nintendo. Maybe it's cozy, whatever it is. You niche into that demographic. Because what I think a lot of people do is when they hear the word niche, they think, I have to pick one game. But I don't, that's not what I mean when I say niche. When I say niche, I say you pick a demographic, right? So I don't niche into playing Animal Crossing. I niche into playing for X demographic. Like 18 to 25-year-olds who are mature, funny, confident, who like these types of things, who do these things. This is how they're using the internet already. And that informs my decision making, right? And that means I'm not capped to one thing. And I will spend a lot of the time streaming, focusing on engaging chat, as we talked about, and making it more about the chatting that's going on and less about the gameplay. And then at the start of every stream, what I started doing was I would be in the game category. I would go live with the thing that would get me clicks. Oh, I'm going to play Valheim today. Here's a pun in my title. Here's all this. They come, they click. And then we spend the first hour in the Valheim category, full face cam like this, talking. Just that's all it is, just chatting, right? And then when people start coming just for that start of the chat, then I started going live with, I'm back, bigger, better, balder, because there's a joke in my chat about that I'm bald. That's why I always wear a beanie. And people start clicking for that. And I would spend the first hour in just chatting instead. And I would do other things. Like, for example, I'd say things like, the X game is the worst, Y game is the best, prove me wrong. And I do a tier list in the just chatting segment. And I would do the chatting, the tier list because that they clicked for, and then I would play the game. And it got to the point where people stopped coming because of the go live was for a game, and they started coming or for the tier list, all that stuff, and they started coming just for me. Right. And that was the big moment for me. Like a lot of my go lives now that do the best, I don't mention the game I'm playing. I don't mention the content I'm doing. It just has to do with me. It has to do with like how I'm feeling or something exciting. You know, I've got my little template of 3 words in all caps to catch the eye. Click here for insert Y. Don't miss out. That's all it is. Right. So it could be something like, I shaved my head. Click here for bald J. Don't miss out. Right? And it's purely devoted to me. So the people who click, no matter what, they're clicking for me, and I'm going to be on screen. They may not like Elden Ring. They may not like whatever game I'm going to do, whatever tier list I'm going to do. But they didn't click for any of that. They clicked for me, and as long as I'm there, they're getting what they want.
Right.
And it's taken me 2 years of slowly going from you clicked for game, I'm talking a lot during game. Now you clicked for game, but I'm talking for the first hour without the game, but I'm in the category. Then it's now you clicked for tier list or thing about thing where I'm in this just chatting section for an hour. And now you clicked for me and I'm here and this is who I am. And now I can go live and probably get like 100 average viewers just from sitting there and talking and doing nothing else. Because it's just what chat have now gotten into. But of course, this also means that, as Ben has said, this hasn't worked just because of that. It's also worked because I didn't miss days. Only until recently did I start like cutting days when I felt tired or sick and stuff like that. And because of that, it means that I've always got people there. And as Ben says in chat, is that I actually have an early gang now. So before I go live, I've usually got 5 to 10 active chatters just talking to each other, saying hashtag early gang, posting jammies emotes and stuff like that and getting excited.
So you go live at the same time every day?
Every single time. Since day one, I've always gone live at exactly 7:13, and around 7:15, my starting soon screen will go away, and I'll go into it. My intro is always the same as well. Song plays, one song will play all the way through, second song will start, and that second song, I'm always super specific about whatever the song will be, and it changes every 4 or 5 months, but the second song will usually have like 5 seconds to 10 seconds of build up, and there'll be a moment, and then that moment, it'll be like a hype, it's kind of like a drop. Yeah. Or like it used to be this song that it would say like, and now for the classics, and then it would jump into like this really good beat. Or right now it says, it's like a countdown. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a drop. And so I'll always make sure that I click my transition of my intro to line up perfectly so the drop starts and I appear on screen and I go, hello! And I do the big intro and we pump it all up.
Big
and so
energy,
people are always there. They're always ready. They know when I'm going live. And it isn't just like hey guys, I'm live. How you doing? I'm live whenever I am. It's always, boom, I'm here. Let's do this. You know I'm going live at exactly 7:13 and that I'll be on screen at 7:15. We're powering through this. while the intro screen was on, I ran a bunch of ads. So you're not gonna get ads for the first hour. Like it is so routine now. It's like the start of a TV show, like the Simpsons intro kind of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say you're creating a whole experience, and it's a consistent experience so people know what they're getting when they come to an ElJay stream. I'm going to pull back to King Turtles the Thicken chat, and I do still have Patches a hooligan. We're going to come back to your question, waiting for a natural moment to segue it that way. But King Turtles was asking further on what are your thoughts on starting Twitch gaming stream with a just chatting segment. I'm wondering if you had started streaming with games and you just went straight into the game without just chatting, and how what kind of differences you noticed with introducing this just chatting at the start of your streams. If you found a sweet spot for how long that just chatting segment should be before you get into the game.
You can feel it. I think it's something you learn slowly, but I think a lot of people, you'll start to learn it the more you do it. So for me, for example, something that I found is early on, when I started doing just chatting, I'd seen a lot of growth, so I could go for an hour, 2 hours pretty easily, but I could always tell when chat had started to get a bit more quiet and fall into the podcast mode or the listening mode, because at the end of the day, lurkers aren't a bad thing. Most people are working, doing other things. You just need to understand that. And so you start to notice when that little bit of chat energy dips. And that's when you should start that's when you start to hype people up into the game. So I'd be like, are you guys ready? And like, for example, for Elden Ring, I noticed when people started getting a little bit more tired of the just chatting stuff or setting into lurk mode, and I'm going to jump into the game. So I'll turn on some like epic like rock music, like that's like dun 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 dun, and I'll be like, it's time to crush monsters and blah blah blah, and do a big intro and stuff like that for Elden Ring, and that chat activity comes back, and then we jump into the game. And the trick is to consistently just be setting people up for that engagement, setting people up for that feeling, and kind of getting an understanding for your chat and where they are. And if something's not working, be prepared to pivot or be prepared to introduce something that gets people a new engagement. And so I've got lots of little engagement tools. For example, I have a community thing where I'll say, can we get a peepo hey for the newbies? Or is anyone new here? And all these people will be like, oh, it's my first time here. And then all my regulars will be like, peepo hey, like a little cute waving emote kind of thing. Or I'll say like, hey guys, before we jump into anything, I got to ask you, how is your day going out of 10? And then all of my people post ElJay rate, which Lockie has put in chat, which is the 8 out of 10. And everyone posts the 8 out of 10, and we get this meme. And even if people go like 6 out of 10 because it's their first time, very quickly they go, oh, we all pump 8 out of 10 here. And it gets people into the right positive headspace as well. It's kind of like we've created a community meme that almost tricks people into coming into a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I'm having an 8 out of 10 day now. Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. I like that. Yeah. It's interesting because you're, it's like subtle psychology that you're introducing. I'm so like interested in the psychology behind content creators and communities and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think what you're doing with your community, is incredibly positive, awesome. It's uplifting. So you're I wanted to ask you this question too. Do you still consider yourself to be a small streamer?
Oh yeah, I'm tiny. I'm absolutely tiny. I say to people all the time, I'm like, we need to readjust what we consider to be large, medium, small streamers, because I think there are lots of different types. You know, I think there are hobbyists and there are beginner streamers. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think small streamers still includes people with 100 to 200 average viewers. I think medium is when you start getting to the 400 to 1,000 mark, right? Large is 1,000 plus, and then there's giant, anything higher than like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really think that's an important way of looking at it, partly because it sets you up to understand that you're still not in the grand scheme successful, right? I don't think as a small streamer everything can go away overnight. Right? When you have 100 average viewers or 200 average viewers or even 300 average viewers, the next day you could go live and you could have 30 average viewers, all because your go live said one word that they were like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm at 100, I'm massive. But it's actually not really. Like, yeah, sure, it's pretty big. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But we have an issue where if you go to your Twitch tracker and you look at yourself when you're at 20 average viewers, it says you're in the top 1% of Twitch. And everyone always loves to talk about this. Like, this is something that people love to say. Like, every small streamer loves to be like, if I get 15 average viewers, I'm in the top 1%. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be harsh to people, but I say, apparently I'm in the top 0.0002%, man. And I'll tell you what, that's not true. You know what I mean? I'm a drop in a giant ocean, and we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to the tens of thousands of people who go live every single month just to show their friends once or to try it out and never stream again, and who never do X, Y, and Z again. It just isn't the case, right? Like, So no, I do consider myself a small streamer. I would consider myself still a tiny streamer, because I also think it helps me to make sure that I don't get an overinflated sense
Mm-hmm. Ego.
yeah, ego is the right way of putting it, because at the end of the day, the moment you start becoming too arrogant, like I know where I suck at, right? Like I have to work hard because I fail a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? um and the moment you start feeling like you can't fail is the moment you can't come back from failure, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's, I don't know, I'd say I'm a small streamer. I'd say I'm a tiny streamer still.
Interesting. What can you talk a little bit about some, maybe a failure, like a big failure that you learned greatly from, or something that really stands out to you?
Hmm. I think that I've had a lot of them. A big thing that I started to realize was that no matter what is happening on stream, no matter what's going on, the most important thing you can do is focus on good content. I know this sounds really weird because, like, obviously you focus on good content, but it's like at a certain point, people become so wrapped up in what their view count is, how many active chatters there are, all these sorts of things, that their content starts to get worse. It's like, oh my God, no one's wrote a new message, or no one's followed me in 15 minutes, or whatever it is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and then it starts getting in their head, and it starts getting to them. And it happened to me too. It started getting to me. And I had this realization, right? One night I was sat there and everything was going wrong and I felt terrible, and I was, maybe I should just end stream. It's only like an hour in, but I've only got 70 average viewers, that's, oh man, it's so low. What am I doing? What am I doing? And I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna just have fun and just mess around and do whatever I want. And I shouldn't have looked at the view count when I did. That was dumb of me. I'm just gonna make good content. And I pushed through, right? And this won't work every time, but I pushed through and I just made good content. And I ended up streaming for another like 5 hours or something like that, which is a long stream for me. And by the end of it, I had like 180 average viewers with no raids. And this was like only a few months ago. And I realized the reason my viewership was so low was because I was letting my slower chatter for the night get me down. I was letting these things get to me because I'd had a rough day as well, right? Like, and all these things were compiling into making my content worse. And that's why my average viewers was actually lower, was because I was letting it affect how good the content was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stopped letting it affect it, when I threw all that away, when I just said F it, and I just went hard and just had fun with it and just did whatever I want, I powered through, and it all came back. All the viewers came back, the chatters came back, and everything felt so much stronger. So a big failure for me was forgetting that it doesn't matter what your viewers are, and it doesn't matter how many chatters you've got or your followers or anything like that, and letting that get to me. And also, I generally sometimes do a content idea that does not work, does not work whatsoever, and letting that get to me as well, not realizing like I could have 70 average viewers because I made a really bad piece of content that no one was interested in, but then the next day I could literally have 200 average viewers just for normal stuff, right? Like Twitch is live content. We have no control over who clicks when and all that stuff, right? Like it is the case. We can go live with the exact same content people love, but it's live content, so we have no control over how busy they are. Do they have friends coming over tonight? What's going on here? Are they in a place where they just don't want to watch Twitch because the world's in a shitty place?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you just got to remember that, and you just got to always set that bigger goal of, I'm not here to have 200 average viewers. I'm here to make good content. I'm here to make something I enjoy. And if I don't do those things, then of course I'm not going to have 200 average viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my big failures. And I think that that's something that at least everyone can learn from as well, no matter what size they are.
Yeah, it's interesting too because it's a mindset thing, of course. I was talking to a friend about this recently, but like when I first started streaming, it was like I was super excited to get 10 viewers. I was like, wow, I've got 10 whole viewers. And then I would have a streamer, I'm like, oh my God, I only have 3 viewers today. What am I doing wrong? And then I'm sitting here today at this size, or anytime at any point during my like peaks and valleys that I go through, and I'm like, I only have 30 viewers. What am I doing wrong? And I could see that happening. I only have 2,000 viewers today. What am I doing wrong? It's a mindset.
It's called the hedonic treadmill, and that's the idea. And that's the idea that we set new measurements of success for ourselves. When I had 25 average viewers when I started, I thought that was the best thing ever. I was like, I'm loving this. I was in such a good mood. But then I got to 100 average viewers and like, this is the best thing ever. Then I got to 200 average viewers and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. But now I'm back at 100 average viewers and I'm like, why do I suck? It's like, no, dude, like you started with nothing. You've got 100 people watching you. That's awesome, right? Pixie has said, by the way, I love this, how he has the energy for streaming. Does he drink energy drink, G Fuel, coffee, or anything like that? Or does he eat a big meal beforehand? I have one coffee a day, and that is in the morning. Otherwise, honestly, I just love it. I know that sounds strange. I used to need coffee when I was going live during some of the burnout periods, but these days it's good music, good chatters, and I just love it. That's all it is. And I feel like it just comes down to really enjoying it. I don't know. I just who I am. A lot of people. This is really funny though. I get called fake. I get called fake
Really?
a lot.
You seem so
Yeah,
genuine
yeah.
to me. I'm surprised by that.
Well,
I
this is
gotta
the problem.
interrupt you here because
Yeah.
I gotta get you to dab. My community is demanding.
Oh yeah.
it,
No
so-
worries. Ready?
Okay, ready?
Ready?
3,
Okay, hold on.
2,
Hold on.
1. Oh, hold on.
I'm not allowed to dab on my stream. My
Really?
founder said I wasn't allowed to do it. Yeah.
Oh,
I dabbed
no.
once during Stardew Valley back when I had like 30 average viewers, and they were like, never again, dude. Never again.
You're such a good dabber, though. That's perfect.
It's all built up. It's my years of wanting to dab.
The dab repression has come out.
Yeah.
So let's circle back there. What were you saying?
I was saying I get called fake a lot.
That's it. Yeah.
So Stream Scheme is aimed at a very specific type of content. It's education content, right? So I'm a bit more serious, with a bit more dry humor, a bit more low energy, so people can understand what's going on. Blah 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 blah. But then I go live and I'm an entertainer. I'm being myself, right? And I'm a very happy, positive person. I like to do these things. But anyone who's been in my stream more than once or more than an hour knows that there are times where I'm low energy or where I'm not feeling it, right? Like I'm very honest about that. But people who watch Stream Scheme then come over to my stream and they see that I'm smiling, laughing, having fun, and they think he's putting it on. This is a persona. This is him being fake. But the real thing is that it's not. That's just who I am when I'm not restrained to a script and when I'm not restrained to a video. And I've had people literally tweet at me being like, "It's unsettling. It feels like you're trying to make up for a lack of charisma.
Oh, no.
You're this, you're that, you're all these things." And I just go, nah, I'm just me, man. This is just who I am. Like, and they'll be like, nah, you're clearly faking it. Everyone's got a YouTube persona. And I'm like, no, it's just who I am. It's just,
I think
so I
to
don't know.
a certain extent we have to amplify our personalities, but the hope is that you are not putting on a fake persona unless you're doing some kind of gimmick, like a Dr. Disrespect sort of thing. Like the hope is you are being genuine. Otherwise, I don't really see how it could be sustainable long term.
Yeah. Well, my wife can attest to this, is that I don't even really exacerbate it. Like, this is how I am in real life as well. Like, obviously, no one is always boom, 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 boom. There's always ups and downs in how it is. But that's the same as it is on my stream. When I'm there, it's like ups and downs, blah, 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 blah. But this is just who I am. Like, I don't, if anything, Stream Scheme is technically the fake one because I'm heavily toning myself down to that scenario. But that's how we are as human beings, right? If I'm sitting in my office at work with 20 people around me and I'm in suits, I'm not going to be like this. I'm going to be professional, but I'm still going to be positive. So that's my thing. I think a lot of people, they do try put it on, but I actually think that your best time to do it is I think that one of the best things you can do is actually just focus on who you are and just be yourself, because otherwise that's, again, more burnout will come because you won't feel like you can go live because, oh, I can't go live today because I'm not going to be able to put it on. I'm not going to be able to exacerbate myself into this thing. But it's like, I never really have to worry about that because when I go live, I'm just being myself. And I'm not pushing myself into something I'm not. And if I'm low energy that day or I'm quiet or I'm whatever it is, then people are like, yeah, that's just ElJay. I don't expect him to be a certain way. This is just who he is. Which is funny. It's funny that I try and be so honest with my chat, but I still get people from the YouTube channel who are like, I looked at your stream. You're smiling too much and it's unsettling me.
Nobody can be this happy. Impossible.
It's true. And I'll tell you what, it's always someone who comes from a rainy country.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, I'm Australian. I'm like, I'm an Aussie. I'm in the Sunshine State. I get to do my dream job every single day, which it's still a job, but at the same time, how could I not be happy when I get to make content, act like a fool on stream, and then go out into the sun and do those things? And they're like, nah, it's fake.
That's awesome, though. Well, I do have one of my Australian community members in chat, Sweet Acorn, who is asking, how do you decide what time to stream? Do you consider your country's audience or international? And so do you concern yourself with trying to hit the Australian demographic? Are you trying to reach American or, European as well? How did you settle on that 7:13 sweet spot?
Because that was the only time where I didn't have another job. That's entirely the reality of it. So as I said, in that first year, I had 3 jobs. I was working all day and I was working after that. So I would just, that was the only time I could go live. I would finish up work, I would have 2 hours to prep for stream, and then I would go live and I would stream. And that was it. That was how it fell into that. About 2, 3 months ago, I started trialing Monday morning streams for the American audience, and it was massive. Like, it was wild. Like, I would go live and have like 300 average viewers or 250 average viewers in a few seconds. But it was also because my stream scheme audience from YouTube is like 99%, not 99, but like 86 or something like that percent America, right? And then American audiences can fit at this time of day where we are now, and they also wanted stream advice. So I was doing stream advice in the mornings at the time where they fit, so it was perfect for them. And it heavily got me thinking maybe I should do daytime streams more often. And I think I will play with them more, but I like my time slot, and I think it works, and it's fine, and it's just who I am and where I was slotted into things. When I start getting bigger, I'll probably be a little bit more looser with my schedule, because the concept is like when you get to a certain size, you get more freedom because there are always people who are going to be able to rock up. But I do think if I streamed during the day, I would have way more viewers than when I would stream at night. But at the same time, it's a different audience. They want streaming advice. They're from America compared to the Australian audience who I get during the night times for me, or the European audience. And so it's kind of a balance. I got to kind of figure that out. I don't necessarily aim for a particular demographic based on where they are. It's more just, these are the times that work for me, and this is the content I want to produce, so I'm going to do that. But yeah, my biggest tip is, if you're trying to find when you should stream, you should pick the days in which you'll be able to stream consistently without missing a lot of days. So for me, I picked the time slot because I knew I'd be able to go live 5 days a week at that time slot, and I would rarely miss that time slot because my other jobs wouldn't interfere.
It works for you naturally. It's very interesting how much you combine like an intuition with what you're doing, or a natural go with the flow kind of feel, and also strategy and analytics and number. You've like married both sides of the brain together very nicely, and I think that's why you're seeing the type of success you are at such a rate that you are too, because it's the feeling is there. It's like it's like a trustworthiness. You stick to your schedule, you follow the analytics. You can also show metrically and explain metrically why what's working is working, but you're also experimenting. When I asked you, how do you know when just chatting is over, you said it's a feeling. Like you're listening to your gut, you're following your instinct, and you're also checking in with analytics to see if the data is backing up the intuition jumps that you're doing. I think that's really powerful. I don't know. It's been a very interesting and enlightening conversation to have with you, for sure. I think we're getting close to 2 hours. I don't want to keep you for too long. I could talk for hours more, I'm sure, but I think I want to wrap with, what is some advice you would have given to yourself at 15 years old?
At 15? Okay, if I was going to be a streamer, or just in general?
Just in general. Streamers who could relate to it, but how would if your 15-year-old self was standing right in front of you right now, what would you want to say to him?
So there's this. So Bernie Burns is someone who I really respect. He's no longer a content creator. He's left the public eye. But Bernie Burns was one of the founders of Rooster Teeth, and he pushed really hard, and he was one of the leading men of Rooster Teeth, right? And one of the things he says to people, to young people, and in general, is he uses the quote of, it takes 10,000 hours to become a master, which isn't always the case, but the concept makes sense. And I always say this to new creators, and I always say this to just anyone, right? I have all these 15-year-olds say like, I want to stream and I can't stream. People are making fun of me at school and I don't know what to do and all this stuff. And I always say the same thing. I go, don't stream. Instead, if you love this and you really want to be successful at this, or you love anything and you want to be successful at it, instead go away and start mastering the thing you love, right? Like, master the craft that is going on around it. You know, if you want to be a photographer, learn to take photos now. Use your phone. Go look up all of it. Do all of these things. Because the earlier you start, the more successful you're going to be and the more proficient you're going to be. When I went to university for film and video, there were guys who'd been making videos since they were 13 on their phone, right? And they were the best of the best, right? They were coming in and they'd already had cameras that they bought over the last few years. They'd been specialized in it. They were better than some of the tutors because they just aggressively put hours into this. They were so passionate about filming and making good content and lighting and everything. And they were so just, I'm going this path. Me, I tried everything under the sun, right? I learned everything. I did everything I could. But then when I got to university and I was specializing, I had to put way more work and way more time in to catch up to these guys. I could still do it, but it takes way more work. So my biggest piece of advice, 2 takeaways. If you love something, start as soon as possible and don't let other people stop you,
Mm.
right? Like just put your time into learning it intrinsically in and out if you're passionate about it. Also, you'll probably learn maybe you aren't passionate about it, you're 15. But then the second piece of advice is that it is really never, ever, ever too late to start, right? Like I know guys who got into film and video at 30 years old, and now they're filming documentaries over in the UK at 35 years old, and they've got full credits as a cinematographer for the BBC, right?
Mm.
Like, and they started 15 years later than a 15-year-old, but they've gone and they've smashed it. So that's my two things: is just start and learn your craft. Don't stress about the analytics or the success of it because you're a beginner. And the second thing is, if you don't start it too early, don't stress. You'll always be able to pick it up, right?
I
Most people
love
don't
that.
find their job or their career until, like, Australian Analytics said in the when they did the census, that most people change industries 6 times by the time that they're 30, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense
So
though. I feel like us having
yeah,
to pick our career at 18 is a little strange. Um,
yeah. My mum yelled at my career counselor. So I went and sat down when I was 15. I went and sat down in my career counselor's office with the deputy principal, and my mum was there to talk about my grades and to talk about what I was going to enroll in because they were going into in Australian schools. In grade 10, we start planning for our end of school exams and what we're going to apply for. And we're sat there, and the teacher says to me, "ElJay, what do you want to be when you're older?" And I said, "I don't really know yet, but all I know is I want to tell stories, and I'd like to be able to travel and meet people, right?" Because I was thinking like journalism or something like
mm,
that, or video producer that travels and does these things. And she says, "Well, looking at your grades, you're really good at STEM, so I think instead let's work towards engineering." And I
no.
said, I said, "I'm not really interested in that." And she goes, "Yeah, but I think that's your specialty, is where you're good at." And my mum was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go. Thank you so much for your time, but clearly you don't actually care about what my child wants to do. He can do whatever he wants. We're out of here." And just said we're leaving, and we got up and we just left. Because screw her, right? Like, get out of it. What the
Mm,
heck are you doing?
mm.
Why are you telling kids what they have to do? Thing is, four of my mates listened to parents listened to this woman, and they went on to study engineering, psychology, environmental science, and something else. And in the first 6 months of studying these things, all four or three of them dropped out entirely and took 2-year gap years before going back and studying something completely different.
Wow. And that goes back into like this counselor would have been looking at metrics and analytics and grades, and you're listening to that gut feeling first and foremost. Even though that video went viral, you still want to do what you want to do and not fall into that hardened niche that's going to make you burnt out
Yeah,
and hate what you're doing. It's very
yeah.
interesting.
You always got to chase what you love, and if you
Hmm.
work hard enough at it and you're careful about it, then you will see success. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's still a job, it's still a passion. You can't just do what you love." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, 100%. It takes a huge amount of work, and it's still a job. But at the end of the day, you'll always fail if you don't feel like what you're doing you enjoy. Like if
Yeah.
you're not passionate about it." And it's why I say to a lot of people who are like, they've got 0 viewers on Twitch and they're trying to do stream advice. You know what I mean? Like fully, like they're not even affiliates yet, and they're like, how to reach affiliate or how to reach partner. And I say to them like, you don't like this stuff. Like I'm like you don't like making these videos. You're clearly doing content because you've seen it work for
Some
Harris
people
Heller or
think it will make
myself
them
or others.
grow if they do advice. I've seen a lot of people that just try to be advice givers about stuff that they don't have
Yeah.
any level of success in. And like even with my channel or my YouTube, it didn't start out with like how to become successful on Twitch. It was
Mm,
something I'm good at, talking to yourself when no one is there. Like I'm great at
mm.
that.
Exactly, right? I just think a lot of people just they try and do things because they've seen it succeed for other
Hmm.
people, when in reality they should find out what makes them unique. Because another thing is, why would I love the Yogscast, right? I love watching Sips, and I love watching people like Northern Lion, all these people like that. Why would I watch someone pretend to be like them or regurgitate their content or do their content essentially worse because it's not them, when I could just go and watch Sips in the Yogscast or Northern Lion or any of these people, right? Like, there's no
Right.
point emulating someone else because you've seen their success. The moment you try and emulate someone else's success when it doesn't suit you or isn't something you love to do, you're just going to be putting time and energy into something that's wasted. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of people start YouTube channels purely for the idea of, I want to grow my Twitch stream, so I'm going to copy these people like Point Crows or the Harris Hellers and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
it's like, I'd rather just go watch the Point Crows and the Harris Hellers.
Literally. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's a famous
So I don't
quote
know.
by one of these like, early 1900s writers that is like, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. And that's
Mm,
just like steadfast. Like, why try to emulate something else? Why not just do what you do best and stand out in that own way? And maybe, yeah, that includes giving advice, but maybe you find out you're not going to give streaming advice. You're going to give advice on weightlifting or something. Like,
mm.
it makes sense that you might just be someone who wants to give advice, or you naturally are an advice giver, but it doesn't have to be just the tried and true, not even tried and true, but what you see working for everybody else. And this happens a lot
Yeah.
too. And like, I kind of niche in Twitch category in tarot, and I see this happen a lot in the magic tarot, where everyone will just try to do what they see doing well, instead of just like trying to take it in their own direction. And a lot of these things that happen to do well for individuals are them following a gut feeling, and it works perfectly for them because it's a combination of, I think a huge thing that's driving you is passion. That's definitely something I can boil down from our conversation. And so they're focused on passion, which is allowing them to grow. And if you're just trying to like chase the numbers, obviously it's not going to work, because you're not going to be fueled. Everyone's in chat was just mind blown by the fact that passion is your energy. Like, you're not like pounding G fuel behind the scenes or something. It's just truly you're doing what you love, and that's what energizes you. I have a totally
And you can
unrelated.
tell when you can. Oh, I was gonna say, and you can honestly, if anyone from my stream can tell when I'm doing something I don't enjoy, because I'm not all like, woo, let's go, like I'm not doing that, right? Like the moment I don't enjoy what I'm doing, that disappears. It's why the other night, after 6 hours of playing Elden Ring and 50 deaths to Godric, the same boss over and over and over, I still had the same positivity and the same smile and the same energy while fighting him, because I was still actually enjoying myself. Like you know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's just it's just a weird one. Anyway, so you were saying unrelated question.
Yeah, totally unrelated. I'm just very curious. What is your astrology sign? I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't actually.
What's your
So this is
birthday?
I actually haven't told people my birthday.
Then you don't have to. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's all right. So I'm actually kind of weird about this, in the
Okay,
sense that like
okay.
I've never leaked my real name. People don't know what city I live in. They don't know my real birth date. We have an arbitrary day of the year where I celebrate my birthday for stream. And like I'm super, super, super careful about all these things. And I've had multiple times, which is really interesting. I've said to brands and sponsors and stuff like that, I have to sign you with my real name because legally I have to, right? Like legally I have to sign you with my real name because I'm a business. I want you to understand right now, this is not something you are supposed to pass on. Do not
Right.
tell people about my email address. Do not tell people about this. You do not pass on my information. Please understand that. And they go, yeah, of course. No worries, no worries, no worries. And I get sent an email from some random brand who I've never spoken to, has never contacted me, I've never had interest with. I've never given them any information. They go, hey, how you doing? Full real name.
No.
X brand has passed on your information so we can have a talk. And I write back saying, hi, I'm not sure who you're looking for. That's not my name, and I don't know who that is. Because I'm not doing it. Right? It's not happening, right? And I'm super, super, super careful about that. That's another one of my boundaries.
That's totally fair. My community is a bunch of witches. I was just feeling,
Yeah, that's okay.
I was feeling Sagittarius energy. I was feeling, they're saying Libra air sign. You're just very fiery. I don't know, passion driven, focused on that, and then the ability to talk and stuff. We do a lot of birth chart stuff over here, so I was just, but that's
No, you're all good.
an
Yeah.
excellent boundary, and also a very good lesson in privacy as well. I'm very protective of my real name, very protective of my location. I won't say the city. I will say a general area where I am, but I think that's fantastic advice.
I went a little paranoid. I leaked fake names. I leaked fake names. There are like 4 or 5 fake names out there now that people think is my name. Like even one of my mods reached out and was like, hey man, just a heads up, you accidentally leaked this. And I'm like,
The plan
no, I didn't. And other people are like, I think his name's David. I'm like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You don't know.
That's excellent. Not a lot of people are protective of enough. I will see people like shopping on Amazon on their streams, and it's just got their name up there in the top corner. Sometimes it'll say their zip code and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all gotta be careful with your with everything. Like, you gotta be careful. And the more you grow as a streamer, the more of a unintentional target you have on your back, because you're a personality, you're in the public eye, you're in the public platform, so be very careful. And that's definitely, we do a lot of birth chart readings and stuff here, but y'all should be careful. I try to tell y'all to be careful with that information. So
Well, I have a PO box because I want people to be able to send me stuff, but I didn't want it anywhere near me. So my PO box takes me like 3.5 to 4 hours to drive to. So it takes
Oh,
me like 8 hours to go get my PO box, which
clever.
leads just
Yeah.
me never going and picking up my PO box.
But it still protects like people. That's the same with me. Like I say, a general city that I'm near, but it's like way far away, so that people can't really like triangulate. Is there schooling that you did, or is that just natural LJ instincts again?
I'm just a very private
Mm.
person. That's all it is. I'm just a very intensely private person. Like, as I said, I hate social media. Like, I just like I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I do this because I'm an entertainer. Like, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be doing stand up. You know what I mean? Like,
Cool.
because that's the part that I'm passionate about is what it is. But like, yeah, I don't know. I've just seen it go wrong. You know what I mean? I've just seen
Yeah.
it go wrong for so many people. And I was like, going into this, I'm not gonna. And like, small streamers will say to me like, I use my real name and it's fine, or like Logan Paul uses his real name and it's fine. And I always say the same thing. I go, do you realize that Logan Paul, in every single shot you've seen him in, is either inside a house with security around the house,
Mm-hmm.
or if he's in public, he has like 6 or 7 giant security guards following him around. There is a reason why people who use their real name and get big have to do that, right? Like XQC had to move houses 4 times in under 2 months because he was getting swatted every single day and doxxed because his address kept getting leaked. Hassan had his address leaked by a realtor and a gossip magazine, and Hassan got sent death threats every single day after moving there, right? He had random like packages being sent to him that people were like, "Oh my god, this could be a bomb. This is a random wipe." Like, poor guy, right? Like, and so I was just like, doesn't matter how big you are. If someone can find out your real name and find out who you are, they can contact your family, they can do all these things. So no, I've always just been intensely private about it. And I always said, a big, small, no matter who you are, you should do your best to protect that as much as you can.
Yeah, I was doxxed when I was like 15 viewers ish. And I had someone who was spamming my real name in chat because it was a Yahoo leak from an account I had for like 10 years ago. So
Mm.
definitely like I think there's a big deep dive that should be done, could be done about privacy protection, especially for people who are interested in going into content creation. So I appreciate your value on that. I'm just a curious little witch, I suppose. But
We're all good.
I think we're going to go ahead and prep for a raid. Do you want to let everyone know maybe what you've got coming up, some of your podcast stuff that's going on, where they can find you?
Yeah. You can find me at twitch.tv/EljayEm with an underscore on the end. So it's pretty normal. What we do there is pretty much we play games, we chat, we have a good time. Over on StreamScheme, we do a lot of guides. We've got a really cool guide coming up soon on the 5 most common growth strategies, where I kind of break down 5 of the common ways most people try and grow. Each one is diverse. So if you're a content creator and you feel like, I can't start a YouTube channel, there are 4 others there that are perfect for you. We have the podcast, which is called the Stream Room Podcast. Not to be confused with the Steam Room Podcast, which is an LGBTQIA plus podcast about going to the gym. But we're similar content. Stream Room Podcast, which is me, Reeps, and Nictacular's journey as content creators. We just released a new episode last night called "Is Twitch Secretly Lowering Your View Count?" which is covering a bunch of Twitch myths, breaking down Twitch myths. And yeah, I got content all over the place. Right now, I'm funneling most of my channel to the EljayEm YouTube channel, the personal channel, where I just released a video last week where it's me unboxing everything that my stream chose from Amazon,
Oh.
including a Thanos women's extra large swimsuit one piece, which I did have to put on a small pair of jorts, or else I was going to be banned for terms of service. So yeah, I don't know. Check those things out, and I appreciate it. But otherwise, that's me.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate your time and energy. Thank you for sharing all your good tips, good advice with my community, with your community. Thank you, everyone in chat, for being so supportive tonight, for all the wonderful questions. LJ's community, y'all have been absolutely wonderful. Such a pleasure. Thank you all for joining. And yeah, when is your next live stream?
Tomorrow night, 7:13 p.m. AEST. We're going to be doing either Pokemon Smash or Pass, or we're going to be
That's
doing.
what I just
Is
did
that what
two
you did the
days
other night?
ago.
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, I'm living
yeah,
in regret.
yeah. Oh, it's gonna be good. Wait till they realize I'm just gonna say Smash to every single one. That'll be a
Low
fun
punny
stream.
though. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so we'll probably be doing that. We're probably doing Smash or Pass, or something else. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We
Awesome.
kind of just like go with the vibe.
So thank you all again so much for joining in. LJ, thank you again for your time. I'm gonna
No worries.
send the
Thank you for
raid
having me. It
over.
was fun.
Awesome. I'm glad. But yeah, thank you everyone so much. I'm gonna go ahead and send that raid, and I will see y'all next time. Bye everybody.
Bye, guys.